It's time to take a stand and stop the sexualization of our children. Action for Canada has created a notice of liability to assist you. The title of this NOL is Facilitating in Exposure of Minors to Sexually Explicit Educational Resources, Activities, and/or Events. The United Nations has mandated that all member nations implement the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Resource. CSE is a learning platform that was developed within the context of a program developed by UNESCO. This so-called resource sexualizes children at the earliest ages possible, and it's no surprise that it's causing great harm to our children, as well as attacking the traditional family unit. According to Section 163.1 and Section 152 of the Criminal Code, as well as the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, it's a criminal offence to sexualize and exploit children. Here at Action for Canada, we've been working to expose this evil agenda and to empower parents, grandparents, and concerned citizens to take a courageous stand. In an effort to assist you, we've created a page on our website where you will find an incredible assortment of information on this issue, including the various programs that have been introduced into our schools. Beyond the Basics is the resource used in Nova Scotia, WIN Sex Ed is used in Ontario, CSE is used in Manitoba, and SOGI 123 is used by the rest of the provinces. By introducing these programs into our educational system, our children and youth are being exposed to sexually explicit pornographic materials in the form of books, magazines, and comic strips. Our kids are also encouraged to become members of organizations that promote sexually deviant behavior and the exploitation of minors. Be sure to take advantage of this notice of liability, which will advise teachers, librarians, trustees, ministers, etc., that they will be held personally liable for exposing minors to any form of pornography or sexually explicit material, as well as any activities or organizations promoting sexual deviancy and the exploitation of minors. By using this valuable NOL, you have the ability to demand that the CSE learning resources be immediately and completely removed from libraries and the education system. That all of the books listed, including titles by the same authors, be immediately removed, and that all educational facilities, including libraries, cease and desist promotion of any and all activities, including performers and clubs that exploit our innocent, impressionable, and vulnerable children and youth. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Here are some powerful actions you can take to protect our youth, no matter your age or station in life. Pull your children out of public schools and universities. Run, facilitate, join, or help with a homeschool group. Get involved in writing letters and serving notices of liability. Run for office as a school board trustee, mayor, or city councillor. Connect with an Action for Canada chapter near you. We cannot ignore this message. Our children and youth are being subjected to twisted ideologies using social justice as a means to indoctrinate and groom them, and we must protect them. Thank you for taking a stand to protect kids. If you like what we're doing at Action for Canada, please consider making a donation to support our ongoing work. And be sure to join a chapter near you. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
Hello and welcome. We're so glad you're joining us once again for another exciting webinar. We have a super special evening planned for you tonight. We're going to be watching the documentary Silenced, a Tommy Robinson film. It's November 13th, 2024, and this is the Empower Hour. Action for Canada is a grassroots movement reaching out to millions of Canadians and uniting our voices in opposition to the destructive policies tearing at the fabric of our nation. Through call to action campaigns, we educate, equip, mobilize, and empower citizens to take action. We are committed to protecting faith, family, and freedom. Freedom of speech, thought, belief, and the right to life, liberty, and the security of the person is guaranteed in Canada. As Action for Canada continues to courageously defend Canadians' rights and freedoms, we invite you to please consider courageously giving, either with a one-time contribution or by becoming a monthly supporter. We want to acknowledge all of you joining us tonight and say thank you for your prayers, support, and contributions, all of which helps Action for Canada bring solutions and hope to our nation. For those of you who are joining us on the Empower Hour for the very first time, I'd like to introduce you to Tanya Gaw, the founder and leader of Action for Canada. Tanya has been on the forefront of fighting for Canadians' rights and freedoms for over 9 years, and she and the Action for Canada team are committed to educating us about current affairs and relevant topics that affect us all. Tanya will be coming on in just a few moments, but first, I'd like to introduce tonight's special presentation. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known by the pseudonym of Tommy Robinson, is a British journalist, activist, and documentarian who is on a mission to expose treasonous leaders, a corrupt judiciary, a weaponized legal system, and the two-tier policing, which are working in tandem to oppress the British people. 2 weeks ago, on October 28th, 2024, Tommy was imprisoned for being in contempt of court for publishing his documentary, Silenced. This documentary showcases the ongoing battle to protect the principles that undergird our freedoms and democracy. We're so pleased all of you can join us tonight for this movie, but first, we're going to join Tanya.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited about this evening. I think this movie is just so important. We've had special permission to play the documentary by, as Heather said, you know, his name has been known as Tommy Robinson, and he had to take on this pseudonym in order to protect himself and his family. And I really, truly believe, as I was preparing the action that I send out on Sunday nights, and if you haven't joined Action for Canada, I'm going to encourage you to do that. We try not to flood anybody with emails every single day. We send an email out on Sunday night and then reminders about the Empower Hour. And then, of course, from time to time, important calls to action. And so we would just love for you to be part of this. And so on Sunday night, the action included a little bit more about, so, you know, the name Tommy Robinson is so well known. There's, you know, a song that they chant after him. He truly is a modern day hero. And we want to bring more attention to who he is, but under his true birth name of Stephen Yaxley Lennon. And he had to relinquish this name in order to protect himself and his family, as I was mentioning, because he has been battling, as we are here in the West, within Europe and the UK, against a very unethical, evil, and corrupt, I called it, empire that we've known of in recent history. So this was a documentary that Stephen had created, I believe it was approximately 3 years ago, and there was a court injunction where he was not permitted to air it, and the movie did come out. I think at this point I'd like to share my screen. And for those of you who are not familiar with our actions, we always say a little bit about the guest, in this instance, a documentary, but we did have Tommy Robinson. I did interview him in the summer and in exposing Islamic infiltration in Europe and, of course, throughout the West. Now, the reason I wanted to share screen as well is to encourage you to join Tommy on X, Stephen on X, but it's under Tommy Robinson. And he has people who are admin, and are posting and giving updates because he is being charged under the Terrorism Act. This is an update from today. So I'll just read it. Tommy, Stephen, I really want to get his true name out there for people start to honor this man.
Sorry, Tanya, can we get you to share
yes.
your screen in Zoom?
Oh, my apologies.
No
yes,
problem.
sorry, I can't see both screens right now. Okay, so I'm going to just back up a little bit so that you can see the page. Thank you, Trenzio. Feel free to interrupt me sooner.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
That's all right. Okay, thanks. And so this is the page that was created with a little more information on Stephen. And as I've said here, Stephen is on a mission to save Britain and protect its sovereignty. He's leading the charge. He is a warrior, a husband, a son, and a father, an example to men around the world that there comes a time when they must take a stand, and truly that time is now. Again, after the Empower Hour, after the documentary has been played, I will be going straight into the weekly news update, and I will again emphasize why it is so incredibly important for more men to understand the time is now for them to rise up and stand up, because Canada is has been infiltrated. We have many of the same issues that are happening in Britain, the rape gangs, the murders, the crime, and it is horrifying. We never thought that we would ever be facing this in modern day Western societies, but corruption has entered our government, and so we need to face this, and this man is willing to die. I had posted this video, but YouTube has taken it down. I'm going to try to find it on Rumble so I can repost it. I know that they do have the interview with Liam. It was the day before Tommy was arrested and put back in jail, and he was literally even in tears. There was a lot of strong language that he used, but he admitted that he was fearful. He didn't know if he's going to make it out of prison. They put him in a Muslim population the last time. He lives in solitary confinement, 23 and a half hours a day. They let him out for a half an hour. And so what they're doing, I will skip ahead. You can find it if you Google Tommy Robinson or search him, on Action for Canada's webpage. You can come up with this video. And I think it was a really, really great interview with Tommy. And then as well, this is his X page. And I would highly recommend that you would sign up and follow, because his admin are providing the updates. So he was in court today. He was being charged under Section 7 of the Terrorism Act, 2000, it says, for refusing to give police access to his phone. And of course, as a reporter, he has very sensitive information on his phone. And as far as sources are concerned, and there was no way, can you imagine that? Willing to go to prison because you weren't willing to give up your sources, who had provided information regarding the rape gangs and regarding the documentaries that he's created. This is one incredible individual, and that's why I choose to honor him tonight. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing my screen. And with that, I would like to, now it's an hour and 43 minutes, about an hour and 40 minutes long tonight. So sit back. I hope you have some popcorn. I want to give a warning as well that there is sensitive content in this documentary, and it is not suitable for children. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. I hope you'll share it, and thank you for joining us as well on all our social media platforms. So please invite others to watch in honor of Tommy. This is one of the reasons why he's in prison today. Thank you.
The documentary you're about to watch is the most important documentary I've ever made. This story is far bigger than Tommy Robinson. This is about the weaponisation and the politicisation of these buildings. Court buildings across the West. The Royal Courts of Justice, ironically named. These buildings have been weaponised and used against members of the public to destroy them if they speak out. From Donald Trump to Steve Bannon, to Geert Wilders, to Marie Le Pen, to Katie Hopkins. That's what's happening. My job as a journalist, I stand for freedom of speech, I stand for freedom of the press. And I failed, because 3 years ago when I lost a court case in here, and they bankrupted me to the tune of £1.6 million, on a documentary, you're going to see the entire story was a lie, okay? I failed because I should have come out of court and I should have played you that film. Why didn't I play you that film? Because I was given a gagging order by this building, by this judge. I was silenced, and I allowed them to silence me because I was scared. I was scared of 2 years in prison. I was scared of the effect that solitary confinement for that length of time would have on me. I was scared of jihadi gangs in jail, and I was scared of the effect it would have on my family. I failed me and I failed you. I'm not going to fail myself again. You're now going to watch the best citizen journalism and the most incredible expose of the establishment you've ever seen. The news is how we find out what's happening in the world. It's how we form our opinions. Opinions based on facts. That's the key. Facts. Facts should be delivered to you by journalists based on the truth. But what if what they're delivering you isn't the truth? What if it's stories that are manipulated to make you think a certain way, to follow a certain narrative, different people's agendas? And what do they do to those who go against that mainstream narrative? Those who try to expose the truth. This is a documentary about the lengths they will go to shut down and silence anyone from bringing you, the British public, the truth.
I lost my job over this.
Non-disclosure agreements.
He's a nasty little piece of shit. Swung the hockey stick over his head and hit me in the spine with it.
Well, it's told there that he was going
This kid was out unconscious already. That's just malicious.
I'm not standing, you're not going, no, because what you're doing, I know what you're doing.
Tommy, I am going to mince your kids, mate.
This is a documentary about the unholy alliance between the media, the justice system, and our politicians. How they conspire to suppress free speech, how they pervert democracy, and how the truth and your freedoms are just two of the casualties. We will show how the mainstream media deceives people, how they ignore the truth, how the lies of the virtue signalling BBC, ITV and Channel 4 are all about their poisonous agenda, no matter the cost to innocent people. It's also a documentary about how an everyday playground incident between two young lads was spun into global news, at a terrible cost to so many people, not least the two young lads themselves. We will show how the law is being abused, how people driven by hateful ideologies attempt to intimidate and silence anyone who dares to challenge the so-called progressive, so-called liberal narrative. We will show the foolishness of our fear-driven political leaders who jumped on a story, took a side without knowing the truth, or worse still, knowing it but hiding it, because the truth didn't fit their narrative, regardless of the human cost. And we'll ask three important questions. Firstly, is the media accountable to anyone, in any way, for what they report? Years after the Leveson inquiry, has anything changed, or do they continue to act with impunity? Secondly, is our legal system still fit for purpose? We will show how lawyers who hate Britain but love jihadi warriors have weaponised the law system against us, and how the legal system really only works for the rich. And finally, how do we keep our politicians accountable? If the police, the courts and the state can silence anyone for speaking inconvenient truths, truths that may raise questions about government policy, is the UK any different from China, Russia or Iran in their treatment of dissidents? And of course, for Piers Morgan, for Jeremy Vine, for the BBC, ITV and Channel 4, it's a tutorial on journalism. Keep watching it, you'll learn a lot. Our story appears to start and end in a brief playground incident at Almondbury Community School in Huddersfield. A playground scuffle. One boy poured a bottle of water on another child. The school dealt with it, and that should have been that. 3 weeks later, however, a video clip of the incident surfaced, and within hours, with the help of lawyers and the ignorant rantings of ITV's Piers Morgan and the BBC's Jeremy Vine, it was made into a global news event. And the lives of so many people were turned upside down. Such playground incidents happen every day. So why was this spat between two boys transformed into global news? Well, one of the boys was white, and the other a Syrian refugee. At which point the truth of the matter was buried beneath an avalanche of agendas and opportunism. Within hours, the Race Hate Brigade was sharpening their blades.
Clearly, when somebody comes from Syria, fleeing Assad's regime, coming to a place like this, when they get treated that way, that's an issue. And the whole world is looking at us.
Where are we? We're in Almondbury. Do I say the scene of the incident? Is it a scene in the incident? It's the scene of the great lie. I call it the great lie because this lie was pushed around the globe. Yeah? This here is the school where the world was told a Syrian refugee was waterboarded by a racist English bully. It was in a playing field here, and do you know what? This is the first time I've been here. Because when this blew up on the news, it's a child's school. Kids are in school. I didn't come outside here. You'd see the scenes outside here where the imam was here with mobs of men, yeah? Mobs of Muslim men. Extremists travelled up from London, such as Ali Dawah, to cause a scene outside this kids' school. Anyway, but I'm here. Why am I here? I'm here because I face a court case. I'm being prosecuted. It's gone to the High Court, and I have to prove. I made a video stating that it was a lie, stating that Jamal wasn't innocent, and telling some facts about Jamal beating up girls, an instance that I'd been warned about by the members of this community to tell the truth about what happened at this school. I've got to prove it in court, so I've come to Huddersfield. I'm now going to knock. I need to find witnesses. I've got addresses for many. I need to knock and talk to them and see who I can get to come to court to help me prove to you, the public. This is about as much as proving in court as proving to you, the British public, that I was the only journalist in the country who told the truth about what happened in this community. The story you were told. You were told that a vulnerable Syrian child refugee had been bullied and waterboarded by a nasty white boy. You were told it was a racist attack. You were told of the dangers of far-right extremism. You were invited to agree that this kind of intolerance could not be tolerated. Was he vulnerable? Was it a racist attack? Our evidence shows the answers to both these questions was no. Was the Syrian lad waterboarded? Why was this word used? What about this? Was that waterboarding? Take a look at this. It shows a group of non-white children beating up a white girl. It went viral online, but it wasn't touched by the mainstream media. It wasn't made into a global story. Why not? Meanwhile, the usual suspects had lit the fire and were gleefully stoking the flames.
Everybody was exposing the scumbag that did this, who I hope gets severe retribution.
And of course, the politicians. They're always quick to jump on the bandwagon. Theresa May, Sajid Javid, Naz Shah, Nicholas Soames, Winston Churchill's grandson. Such moral outrage. And it's not just the media and the politicians. In today's Twitter and Facebook driven worlds where celebrities and groups compete to virtue signal, most of them driven by the warm feeling they get by expressing their moral outrage, or by fear. The fear of what might happen to them if they don't. Everyone who's anyone pumped the Bailey Jamal story. Boxers, Lennox Lewis, Huddersfield Football Club, celebrities from across the globe. Let's have a look at all of the celebrities and blue tick brigade who pumped the Jamal story. And here are some of the people who pumped the story you watched earlier of the white girl getting beaten up. Sadly, whether it's politicians, celebrities or other groups, none of them are wise enough or pause long enough to ask whether they have the whole story, to check the facts, to find the truth. But why let the truth get in the way of such a good story? And this story was just too good a story. Two lads in a playground scrap is not international news. But racist white thug waterboards helpless Syrian refugee, boom! Racism can't be tolerated, beware of the far right. That's their kind of story. We'll hear more about the militant left later, but they clearly weren't going to miss out on this.
Well, representing might be too harsh a word, but I'm here as a concerned citizen.
Mohammed Amin Pandor, a mufti on a mission. He rushed to Almondbury from his mosque in Batley, a town at the far end of the district. In fact, there's 40 mosques closer to this school. But perhaps Mufti Pandor had his own agenda. You see, his little brother, Councillor Shabir Pandor, is the leader of Kirklees Council in Huddersfield, and they were having some pretty bad news days at that time. By the way, Mufti Pandor, he's the same guy who ordered the Islamic mob to come to the school in Batley and demand the sacking of the RE teacher who showed a cartoon of Muhammad in a discussion about free speech.
Look at what we do as a community and you'll understand our stance. So what has happened is totally unacceptable. Yeah, and we have made sure that the school understands that. The teacher has been suspended. The teacher has been suspended.
You may recall the teacher had to flee and he's still in hiding under police protection. Luckily, he hasn't ended up like Samuel Paty, the French teacher who was beheaded for having a similar discussion in a classroom about free speech. You see, free speech is essential for any society wishing to maintain intellectual and social progress. But not all societies are bothered about intellectual and social progress. Should we be silenced by the demands of Mufti Pandor and Sharia law? Should we sacrifice our freedom of speech? Should we sacrifice the free and open exchange of ideas? Should we sacrifice the cultural inheritance of which we are all custodians? But back to the bad news days in Kirklees and the playground incident in 2018. There was also Kirklees councillor Masood Ahmed.
I'm not aware of there's a problem at the school. That's something obviously I need to find out in terms of that if there is a problem at the school, and that is something I will definitely be picking up.
Now, some of you may remember this.
My colleague is going to explain what's going to happen next, right?
Am I being arrested? I am being arrested.
Causing a breach of peace.
I've caused a breach of peace. I'm being arrested.
But the content of what you're
Can we just say
streaming.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what I've just said to you?
No, can you explain it again?
Causing a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean? At the same time as this playground spat between two young lads, 20 Huddersfield men were being jailed across Yorkshire at Leeds Crown Court for what would be the biggest grooming gang Britain has ever seen. Ultimately, 35 almost exclusively Muslim men would be given 380 years in prison for grooming, trafficking and raping young children, most of whom were known to Councillor Pandor's Kirklees Council. Mufti Pandor travelled for half an hour to rabble-rouse a gang outside the school gates over this playground incident, when within a couple of mile radius in Batley, police have arrested a further 99 men in relation to historic sex crimes. So far, 32 have been charged, including one Ibrahim Pandor, 41 of Batley. That makes it the highest destination of grooming gang arrests anywhere in the UK. We Googled to see what Mufti Pandor has said about these grooming gang atrocities. Nothing. We Googled to see what Councillor Masood Ahmed's condemnation. Nothing. In fact, we can't find the condemnation from the Mufti's brother either, Councillor Shabir Pandor, leader of the council. Just one statement from him, reported in June 2019, telling the National Working Group of Child Sexual Exploitation Response Unit that his authority had moved forward. That's it. They've moved on. Never mind grooming gangs, gang rape of young children. All these men seem to be far more concerned about what happened in a playground at Almondbury Community School, or about cartoons of their prophet Muhammad. I think I now realise how difficult this is going to be, because everyone we've spoke to today, they're all confirming what I said was true. Everyone's confirming what Jamal was like, including school staff. But as soon as I mention this camera, as soon as I mention court, I need someone to come to court, they just totally silent straight away. No one can have said that. No one can have said this. You jump in, it's raining. But I'm realising how difficult it's going to be, but I have got an idea for that now, after today. So, but first stop McDonald's, yeah? Let's go to McDonald's because I'm starving. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I see you on YouTube.
Yeah.
I see you.
Smaller in real life, isn't it?
Nice to see you, man.
Nice to meet you, bud.
Shall I offer you a drink?
No, I'm fine, thank you. Cheers, though.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Very nice to see you.
No, thank you, bud.
Hello.
Steve, how are you, mate? It's Tommy. I'm good, mate. Bro, mate, have you still got all those hidden cameras?
Yeah, of course I have, yeah.
Could I borrow them? Yeah, but when I say borrow them, can I borrow? I'm going to need to take them for weeks because I've got so much to do. It's a long story. I'll explain when I see you. But I'm in a bit of a situation. I need some hidden cameras.
This is not a problem. I'll put some kit together for you.
That's it. So that's the idea. The idea is, I've got a friend there, Secret Steve, who has all sorts of cameras. Yeah, he's a private investigator. I need to show the public everything that I've heard today. I need the public to hear and know the truth. I need them to know how much they've been lied to by the media about what happened in this town. And the only way, unfortunately, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is with hidden cameras. Because today, I've heard the truth, but I need every one of you to know the truth. And everyone's too scared. That's why I said Project Fear. Everyone is too scared to speak the truth or to come to court. So I'm going to end up getting hammered in court. The whole world told I've lied when I haven't. I was the only journalist in the UK who told the truth. So we need to prove it. So we'll shoot down the motorway now. We'll go get these hidden cameras. These are all, so this is a tie. There's a camera in that. That's the camera. Mad, isn't it? It's the camera there. You've got everything here. Cameras, glasses. I don't wear glasses, so that's going to be awkward. That's the bottom of a coffee cup. So you put that on the bottom of the coffee cup. I feel like James Bond. This today, that's the camera. I'll have to take this off, but it doesn't matter because apparently this records all the audio, records everything. That's the camera, and I feel a little bit dirty doing this, but it is the only way I'm going to get people to speak. And then I need you to hear what I hear.
The idea that people would maraud the streets looking for him was appalling. The fact that the video itself, although it showed the accumulation of things that are built up to that, did not deserve what happened to him or to anybody else in that situation. And I'm afraid the media, I call it a perfect storm. I was getting emails from Pakistan, from Australia, from America telling me to resign. So it went worldwide, and I'm afraid I came into teaching to help poor people, and they got rid of me. I've got a problem here. I lost my job over this, and as a result the council has told me that I cannot speak to anybody ever about it. So unfortunately...
Well, you lost your job over the Jamal Bailey thing?
I was there when it happened, I was there when I dealt with all the situation, and then Ofsted came, then Trevor wasn't there anymore. That's all I can say. I can't get a job, so that's where it's left me, and I can live with that, but Bailey were only 15. I can't live with that. That's different.
He's got a
young man. He's a young man with a life that he should be. He's an articulate lad. He's got a lot about him. That's terrible. I can't.
No. Okay.
If I do, I could get myself into real trouble.
No, okay.
I could, really serious trouble, legal trouble, because part of the council's...
You've signed an NDA or something?
Correct. So they've said you can't discuss it.
And what was the NDA? So you keep the pension? So you get a pension?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, bruv.
I have to be very careful about what I say to it. I'm not allowed to talk about it. I really am not. So I can't discuss it. I can't discuss it with the media. I've always wanted to have my say
against it,
which I've never had. Never been allowed to have. Never been allowed to say goodbye to my staff. Was just told to leave. So I worked there nearly 20 years, and never got a card, never got a goodbye.
This whole thing was just used. The whole thing was used,
yes,
to push them in.
And hijacked, and by the right of the political. I'm quite a political person. By the right and the left, it was hijacked and spun all out of proportion, and now we've got problems.
But essentially, what I've got.
So what you'll meet is a wall of silence.
What a mess!
It is a mess, but it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for Bailey. I'm not sure Jamal will get anything out of this ever in his life, positive out of it either, necessarily. He might have got a few silver coins from Judas, but that's about it. You know, that's it.
The thing is that the incident happened 6 weeks prior, or weeks prior. And then on the same day at the same time, I've looked at the timings, the GoFundMe set up, the statement's released.
Now you see you're putting a picture together.
And then they've built it up.
I couldn't comment on that, but you've got a picture there.
And built it up as a racist incident.
Correct.
He's Syrian, he's English.
Correct.
Job done. Already, that's gold, yeah? I know that's gold. I hope that's recorded. I can't turn a computer on. So I just pray that's got the audio and the visual, and it's not pointing up there, that we've got it, because that was the head teacher. And that's the first visit. And I know this is going to work. So I now know, just off that, I didn't think he'd talk. I thought he'd shut the door in my face. He didn't. He seemed like he wanted to talk. There's a lot he wants to say. So, but yeah, let's go. Next stretcher. It's exciting. Was there a racism problem in the school? And
well, no, I don't think there was.
What about other Syrian refugees? Like, do you think what happened to Jamal in the school was because he was a Syrian refugee?
No, not at all. I told you before that would have happened if the child was white, big, blue, whatever colour.
They're all scared.
Yeah. We've all got careers, aren't they? I work for probation service now.
You do now?
Yeah. So I don't know where I stand with it. If I go, I could lose my job.
What about if... No, and I wouldn't...
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get it, bro.
I work for probation service now. You see, if I didn't work for...
You see, if you were someone...
If I didn't work for the fucking public sector no more, I'd say they can go fuck themselves, they can't. You know what I mean?
So they seem to be pretty keen on these NDAs?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Kirklees Council. But I can't disclose that with you.
Like what?
Loads. I'm saying I can't disclose it because I signed it.
That incident was talked about by Theresa May at a G20 summit. Somebody asked her a question about it. We were then Ofsteded by 5 of the top inspectors in the country. Then only send 1 registered inspector. We had the head of safeguarding. I had Amanda Spielman, the head of Ofsted, speaking to me about it. If you want my honest opinion, they said, get up there, I don't know who they is, get up there and shut that school. Get up there and get rid of this.
Get rid of the problem, over the Bailey.
Correct.
Over Jamal.
Correct. Get up there and get rid of it.
But why do you think that is? Like, do you think, because I looked at Jamal, because he came here 2 years ago, I've got so many negative things said about him now by so many people. Well, I mean so many. Well, I mean, I've got children at school.
I said it to you before. We had 9 Syrian children, 9 families.
Yep.
We only had 1 issue.
Well, my view is that you won't get much of an answer out of Rob because he worked there and he's bound by various confidentiality. So
non-disclosure agreements. Did he get paid as well?
Not going to comment.
They all have. Every teacher got paid not to tell the truth. But the head teacher can't even talk about Jamal at all.
No, neither can I.
Neither can you. What's your name?
Well, if you work it out, it must be a good one, mustn't it?
Oh yeah, so, did you work there as well?
No, I was the chair of governors there, but so it's not.
My issue is
you're not going to get anywhere. Really.
No, yeah.
And Rob wouldn't talk to you either, so it's.
They're trying to.
It's pointless me even giving you.
I told the truth.
Your contact details.
Okay.
It wouldn't work with it.
I told the truth about what happened that day.
I am not even arguing.
His life was destroyed.
Well, that's not fair either, is it?
As a racist bully, and he weren't.
And he wasn't.
I know.
You and I both know that.
I know.
Unfortunately, the truth is just.
How much money is it?
I can't see the figure because if I see the figure, it goes out.
Because mate, 18.
I've just found out, well, the head teacher's told us already that he was blackmailed and threatened. I've just found out of Kumar, he was paid £18,000. Paid, he said, I can't say, shh. I signed, I was paid. So paid what? He was paid money by the local council, so he can't tell the truth about what's gone on in that school. They've given everyone non-disclosure agreements, from school staff to governors, and Paul Kumar to get £18,000. He's not even involved. If you live here, if you live in this area, your tax money, he's got 18 grand. What must the head teacher have got? He must have got 6 figures. How much money have they spent on this lie?
We put in a freedom of information request to Kirklees Council to find out exactly how much they had spent of taxpayers' money to get the silence of their staff. They didn't answer the first request. They avoided the second. Only when we sent them legal letters, because they have to by law answer these questions, did we get our answer. They had spent over £250,000. Nearly £275,000 of taxpayers' money was spent making people remain silent.
But they've spent money silencing everybody, so no one can ever, this is forever, once you sign that agreement, No one can ever tell the truth. While they pushed this manufactured lie that destroyed lives, schools, communities, everyone's life. I've seen life after life after life, person after person's life destroyed, while the council, your local council, Kirklees Council, give away hundreds of thousands of pounds to make sure that the truth can never be told. I can't believe it. I knew from day dot, I asked myself the question, when this was blowing up and I knew the truth, I kept saying, how come no teacher's telling the truth? If all those teachers know what's gone on in that school, how come none of them are coming out and saying? Well, now we know. Now the whole world's going to know. Because Kirklees Council paid them not to. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Jamal was in your year?
Yeah, he was in the same year as me.
What was Jamal's attitude like at school?
He wasn't very nice. He called female teachers bitches. He just didn't really have respect for the female students, to be honest. Yeah, basically we were in a PE lesson and we were playing hockey with a teacher called Mr. Cattell, and I had taken the hockey puck off of Jamal because I was on the other team and sent it to the other side of the room where my teammates were, and I then turned around and just felt a really sharp pain in my back, and he'd swung the hockey stick over his head and hit me in the spine with it.
Do you think there's any way that could have been an accident?
No. It knocked me to my knees.
It knocked you to your knees. How long had Jamal been at school when this happened?
About 2 weeks. I've had lasting injuries from it. It's caused me to have severe pain in the top of my back, and I'm on medication for the pain.
Still now?
Yeah.
Did Jamal get in trouble for this?
Not that I'm aware of.
First, I want to apologise to anyone I've been forced to record with a hidden camera. Sadly, people are terrified to tell the truth because of the potential consequences. But the truth still needs to be told.
Do you remember of any incident specifically with Jamal with girls?
Well, there was that one where he hit that girl with hockey stick, wasn't it?
Yeah, Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I think of her name then.
Yeah, in Moscow.
Lovely little girl, that.
Yeah.
It was just rude to him, obnoxious, bloody nasty. No respect for ladies, no respect for girls.
Yeah.
Expected everybody to bow down to him.
Because he was to the side of me, so he tried pushing me and so I quickly moved out there because obviously I knew what he was like. He would have actually hit me and stuff. Yeah. So I moved, and then that's when he moved his arms as if he was going to try to slap my face back.
Okay. And he did. But on that day, he spat at you multiple times. Where'd the spit go?
Literally all on my uniform outside and all down the school bag. Because when I went home, I told mum that my mum was disgusted in it. But the school said that because it was outside of school times, they can't really do much about it.
Okay.
He's a nasty little piece of shit.
Was he?
Yeah. And I told your solicitor that when she rung me.
Okay.
Horrible boy.
Was he?
Yeah. And it's all that.
What was he like at school then?
Nasty.
To?
Everybody and anybody. He had no respect for women at all. None. Even staff.
No respect for them?
No. I told his solicitor all this on phone.
Okay.
Jamal grabbed him by his tie, literally threw him against the wall, cracked his head open against back at wall and just kept throwing him against the wall. This kid was out unconscious already. That's just malicious. That's just intent to kill.
The house though.
Were they?
They had a young lad and a girl, and they were horrendous. The kids, they were just horrific. The couple of kids that they had, they used to bully the kids.
What, Jamal?
Yeah.
See, what was Jamal like though?
A dickhead.
Was he?
He came to isolation a few times. He wasn't perfect child.
No. He was portrayed.
Well, you know what job I did, don't you?
He was in isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In isolation loads of times.
Was he?
Yeah.
What was he like though?
Troublesome child.
Yeah.
He used to make up fucking stories.
He used to make up stories?
Yeah. At one stage, I think something to do with his sister. Somebody said something to his sister and I was in isolation. And I just got come out and He was waiting outside isolation and wanting to beat the girl up or something. I can't remember.
He wanted to beat the girl up.
That said something to his sister. Just 1 second, I'm just going to...
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem.
No, he used to lie a lot.
But this whole thing was built off what he said, and if he lied a lot, it's a big problem. What's that?
He was quite a violent person.
He was a violent person?
Yeah. Like, so I was the year below and he was the year above.
Yep.
He used to, every time I walked past, try grabbing me and...
Every time you walked past him? What happened with you and him?
In the toilet, she just comes up and tries wrestling and take that.
What was that over? Nothing at all?
He did it the majority of the day, every day.
Every day? But when you saw him? He just attacked you? Was he like that with lots of kids?
Not really, no.
Just certain kids?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm exactly the strongest person.
So he thought he could? No. Well, he just randomly attacked you? Yeah.
From the spot, anytime.
What about your mum said something about he put something in between his hands?
Oh yeah, it was a compass. I remembered it yesterday, just as you went. It was a compass. It got a compass and he was going around like, when he got to me he went proper hard into me, made me bleed and everything, and I think it was Miss Ennis that proper gave him a telling off.
Okay. You know, you said, so say like that incident there, you said some girl said something to Jamal's sister and he waited outside to beat her up. Well, there are testimonies from several children who alleged they were being bullied by him. Younger children, little girls, mostly girls. Is Jamal the innocent victim you've been told? I gathered these testimonies over just a few hours filming in Huddersfield. I could have carried on.
Yeah, I was waiting outside isolation to beat the girl up.
And about the lies?
Yeah, I'd say about Jamal, he used to tell fibs. Several times he got investigated. And it just fucking turned out to be fucking lies.
The fact he always lied is a big point. The fact that you know that the police, the school investigated incidents where he said things happened, and they turned out to be made up.
Yeah, there was fibs. They couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened because I think there was one. The child wasn't even in school that he accused. I can remember.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm sure he accused another guy called Jaden. I can't remember his last name.
Called what?
Jaden.
Jaden.
He accused Jaden of something. And when me and Miss Ennis investigated, it was fucking bollocks.
Not very likeable, really.
No.
You know, about what he was going to do to sisters and what have you.
To Bailey?
To Bailey and to others.
Oh, and to others.
But not a very nice boy.
When you say what was he going to do to the sisters?
Well, he told Bailey he was going to rape them.
Told Bailey he was going to rape his sister? Oh no, and I've tried to argue that it was in the public's interest for them to know the truth about Jamal.
And they was just retaliating.
Yeah.
You know, which most people do if somebody threatens their sisters.
Yeah. But Jamal seems like every kid I've spoke to that he attacked was younger.
Yeah. Bully.
Jamal, who Jamal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding out.
Yeah. That's what I remember. He said he was going to stab him, so I think it was a science or something.
Yeah.
If I remember. He said, yeah, so he goes to come and then, what are you saying now?
Because that thing of him getting caught with a knife in school, it's like, what? Caught with a knife and a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Bailey gets expelled for pouring a bottle of water?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Surely he gets...
Have you got a statement on that?
No, because there's things missing. But I've got his dad mention it in the minutes of a meeting. His dad mentions it in the meeting with the school. His dad mentions about them catching him with a knife and a screwdriver. His dad brought it up. I've got it in black and white.
Yeah, so you've got a good case there.
I've got it. Yeah, he got caught with a knife. They can't deny it. You see, the truth was there for the media. It was there for celebrities and politicians to see. They could have told you the truth at the time, before some of you gave over £160,000 of your money to the poor victim, Jamal. Well, not so poor anymore. But none of this was true. A key part of this case is that I reported what I was told. Before my involvement in this story, a mother went online and said her daughter had been attacked by Jamal. I contacted that mother. She sent me images of her daughter. She said her little daughter was beaten by 3 Muslim girls and that Jamal jumped in and bit her daughter on the head. She sent me the images of the bite marks on her daughter's head. I said, can I speak to you? Can I interview you? I rang the mother, but the child was too scared to talk to me.
She's scared.
Oh no, everyone's scared. A girl went online and said that she had been attacked by Jamal. Both of these victims deleted their comments. Why?
Both of these victims had gone online and reported this before my involvement at all in this case. I simply reported what they were saying. We revisited the mother's house to try and get confirmation as to why she backtracked on the story she had put out and the story she had told me.
I don't care if you're driving, Tommy Robinson's there.
Tell her not to worry, don't worry.
He said don't worry.
Yeah. So when you put online about Jamal, what happened? Like, what did you what happened? What was the response to that?
What do you mean?
I mean, did you receive any?
Did I receive threats? Yeah, I did.
What sort of threats?
Rape, all sorts, Tommy, all sorts.
And I'm just, because what I'm trying to understand is that, and is that, because what I've looked at, and then because Jamal's solicitors are using a statement that you made saying that Jamal had nothing to do with it, but was that, I'm asking, was that in response to the threats you received?
Yeah.
It was, okay.
Liar. Straight, he was just a liar. Jamal telling fibs all the time. Several times investigated, found out that he was talking fucking shit.
I don't think the whole... But then I read Jamal reading what was blatantly a prepared statement on the news.
I don't feel safe at school. Sometimes I say to my dad, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was just crying, and I didn't do nothing because I respect the school rules.
Yeah, he used to break rules all the time. Yeah, he used to lie. He used to lie a lot. He lied several times. He lied several times. I caught him several times lying.
He's suing me for defamation for what I've said about him. And I'm finding out after teacher after teacher after teacher, he's far worse than what I said. Far worse. I mean, like, far worse. He was put up on a pedestal by every single media outlet, politicians, footballers, celebrities, boxers, everybody. He's suing me for defamation for what I've said about him. All I'm knocking on the door and asking teacher after teacher after teacher is, what was Jamal like? And it's just flowing. It's just boom. And he was far worse than anything I said. Far worse. I find it insane. Because there is no way that all the things I'm now finding out, that no other journalist has found this out. They must have known what he was like, because it hasn't been hard.
But how they portrayed Paul Bailey was disgusting. It really was.
Cole, because that's what I spoke to loads of people who said no, Bailey wasn't a bully.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't racist.
His mum had a bit of a gob, don't get me wrong, because they used to live up here.
Yeah.
Bailey wasn't like that at all. He had two half-caste sisters, so how could he have been with that, you know? But Bailey wasn't racist. That far from it.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bully, he was a good lad.
Oh no.
I see him, and then Erin would always say, oh yeah, no, she was right, you know. But even during...
Because he got portrayed, the way the media portrayed it was that Bailey was a horrible racist kid and that Jamal was an innocent little refugee.
He wasn't. Not far from it.
So you were told Bailey was a bully and he was a racist. He wasn't a saint in school. He'd be the first to admit that. But he wasn't a bully or a racist. The police concluded there was nothing racist about the scuffle. Yet you were told he was vermin. You were told he needed to be dealt with. He was vilified by the media, by politicians and by celebrities. Bailey a bully? Bailey a racist? Not according to his teachers and other children. Not according to his head teacher of his school.
He was a 15-year-old kid, and it would have been, could be, have a great future. He's a very articulate lad. He's got a lot of issue about justice. Yeah, I think, I could have seen him being a lawyer or something like that because he has that in him.
Really?
Yeah. And he would stand up for his peers in school where he felt things were.
Yeah.
He would do that.
I just want to tell the truth about Bailey.
Yeah, well...
His life was destroyed.
Well, that's not fair either, is it?
As a racist bully, and he weren't.
And he wasn't.
I know.
And I both know that.
I know.
Unfortunately, the truth is just...
But Bailey didn't even get to sit his GCSEs because of this campaign of hate, this perversion of the truth. What about Jamal's broken arm? Which the world was told was because of bullying. That was a lie. School incident reports record that he had been punching a much younger child in the face while holding him in a headlock, and he was pushed off him.
fell and broke his arm. The police considered the incident to have been dealt with properly.
He was picking, I think he picked, and I don't know who, somebody pushed him to get him off.
He started calling my mum a white fat bitch and stuff, and then he like...
He started calling your mum
a white fat bitch.
a white fat bitch.
And then I went up to him, and then he, like I chucked a bottle at him, and then he put me in a headlock, and then my mate pushed him off me.
And I believe that's how he broke his arm?
Yeah.
So he had you in a headlock?
Yeah.
So he physically assaulted you?
Yeah.
You said he called your mum a white bitch?
Yeah.
Is that sort of terminology he uses a lot?
Yeah.
There are all sorts of misconceptions, like the fact that he had a broken arm.
Oh, I've got two independent witnesses,
No,
Taryn.
he hit a year 8 kid. And another kid in year 11 stepped in and said, "What are you doing?" Pushed him over. Broke his arm.
Who he had in the headlock?
It must have been just start of year 11, put this kid in a headlock. One of my friends wasn't having it, didn't like how he was behaving, grabbed him and just threw him off him. Like anyone do break up a fight, they just like throw him off him, but this wasn't a fight. This was an all-out brawl, one-sided, completely one-sided, because this kid had no match against Jamal. Just threw him off him and it landed on a curb.
How big was the kid? Jamal was in year 11?
Yeah, half the size of Jamal easily.
Okay. You know, I know he was 12 and Jamal was 15.
But it was like kind of like half size-ish, kind of like up to shoulders kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he still had no match against him. And my friend just grabbed him, threw him off him, and he landed on a curb. That was about it.
So I've read it reported in by Jeremy Vine and in the newspapers that that was an incident of Jamal being bullied.
No, exact opposite. He was bullying this kid.
So you see, people thought that was all part of it.
But that's, do you know why?
Can somebody be thrown to the floor with a broken arm?
But do you know why? Do you know why they thought it was part of it? Because the solicitor said it was.
No, well, that's not true. That genuinely is not true. I could even name it. I won't. But I could name the child in year 8 that he did it to, and I could name the child in year 11 that stepped in.
So someone stepped in.
Because basically the school was a pretty good place. Kids had good values. So if you saw a bigger kid hitting a little kid, you'd step in and say, "What are you doing? Get off him." And we even had it where...
Do you know what he said to the year 8 kid?
No.
Called his mum a white slag.
Yes. Now
I've got that on camera as well.
Now you say it, yes, he would have done that, and that would have been incredibly provocative for him.
Even in his statement to court, Jamal claims they were forced to relocate from Huddersfield for their own safety to a different part of the country. Really? Because the records say there was no racial motivation and there was no threat at home. That's what the records say. And this is why the authorities, they refused to move them. And while all this was going on, records also show that his dad, Jihad, his dad's name is Jihad, he'd threatened to kill himself if the rest of his family weren't brought in from Syria. It's not surprising that some authorities expressed concerns that Jihad Hijazi was trying to manipulate the system to get what he wanted, including better housing. You were not told the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. You weren't told anything approaching the truth by the mainstream media. And in Jihad Holy War's statement to the court, Jihad said that he wished he had died in the war with his family rather than go through what happened at Almondbury Community School. Really? He wished he was dead and all his family were dead rather than go through this school playground incident. Listen to the clip again.
Say now then. Nothing. Say now then. Say now then.
Listen to what Bailey's saying. He's asking Jamal repeatedly, what are you saying now? It wasn't a random attack. It wasn't a racist attack. Bailey didn't threaten to stab Jamal. The playground incident was not the beginning of the story. It was a culmination of many events. Not least, it was a response to Jamal's alleged threats to rape Bailey's younger sisters. They were about 9 years old at the time of this.
So as a girl at that school, when you saw the portrayal of what happened with Bailey and him, because he was painted as this innocent little kid.
He wasn't innocent, it's out in everyone.
It's out in everyone.
And I used to see him bully Bailey's little sisters and stuff, so...
Everybody was exposing the scumbag that did this, who I hope gets severe retribution. I hope his parents take action, right? Never mind anything else. What are you producing here with this vermin doing what he's doing here? That's not Britain. That's not what we do as a country.
You can hear him there describe Bailey as vermin. Words are important when you're on a daytime platform and people listen to what you say. What do you do to vermin? You exterminate it. You kill it. Lowlife, you called him a thug, but worst of all, he demanded severe retribution against this child. At the same time as this, Jeremy Vine was reporting. He didn't tell people the bully's name, although he was finding it hard not to name a child. Instead, he told his followers where they could find that name. Now, this is a direct response of both of your reporting. Because when you reported, you can follow the timeline and the repercussions of what that brought. What I've done here, in 2018, there's a charity called Tell Mama that records Muslim hate incidents. Even though they've been, in the past, penalised for exaggerating the figures, let's work off their figures. They say there are over 1,000 hate incidents, with 325 of them being online. Some of them Islamophobic, which means criticising Islam as well. Here, I've printed a piece of paper for each one of those hate incidents. 327 hate incidents online against the entire Muslim community of the UK in 2018. The 325 Islamophobic comments, they're the ones you read about on the news every day. They're the ones people in jail for. They're the hate incidents the media keeps shoving down your throat. So each piece of paper here represents a hate comment aimed at a child after a playground dispute. I want to read these now. Piers, you demanded severe retribution. That's what you demanded against this child. Let's see if you're happy with some of this. I pray someone rapes you and your whole family while you watch. Fuck your mother, fuck your love, the Syrians will rape your family. If I saw you, I would rape you to death. You will be raped by the Fallujah group. I hope your mother will not be racist when she is raped. I'm going to bum your nan alive, then dead her again. And the threats of rape, all of these threats of rape, imagine being these children. Imagine being a 15-year-old child living in Huddersfield with your little sisters. Muslim men are jailed in the biggest scandal in the history of our country for mass rapes in that town. And then you're receiving and you're reading these messages. You're going to die. You're going to fucking die. We're going to strangle your mum, your dad, your friends. I'll kill your whole family. I can't wait to find you so I can slit your throat. You're the person who should be killed in those ISIS videos. You, your parents and your whole family have to be burned. Do everyone a favour and fucking off yourself. Looking at you makes me want to commit suicide. Go commit suicide, you oxygen thief. Jump off a bridge, bro. Do humans a favour and kill yourself. We don't want you and you don't belong in this world. Again, imagine being that child reading them. Piers, is that severe enough for you? This is a mental health record for Bailey McLaren. Bailey was referred to Luton CAMHS by Luton and Dunstable Psychiatry Liaison on the 31st of December 2018. Reason, patient involved in incident in Huddersfield and has been relocated to Luton with family. Patient unable to cope with not returning home and has taken an overdose. So this lie, this narrative, this agenda, which comes before anything else, by the politicians, by the media, that was pumped. This child, it doesn't matter. His life didn't matter. You know, if he killed himself, no one would have cared. We wouldn't have heard condemnation from any of the politicians or from any of the media. No one cared. Because everyone, from start to finish in this story, is collateral damage, so long as they have the narrative. And Piers, you have a son. You have children. Demanding severe retribution against a child for a school playground dispute is unforgivable. You sit there and you preach. You preach against us. You make your accusations against me. Never have I labelled Muslim children as vermin. Never have I demanded my followers to commit severe retribution against anybody. And this is what the media, the politicians and the celebrities created, aided and abetted by the left-wing activism and the selective indignation of Islam. Hypocrites out there might say, who cares? That's what he deserved, right?
Imagine for one moment if I had incited violence against a young Muslim lad, in the reversal of this situation. And you see, in a district where a generation of young girls have been raped, these threats are far from empty.
What do you think, if you were working in the school at that time, what do you think what the media done?
I think the media fucking blew out of fucking proportion and what fucking waterboarding at all.
I know. But then the media run that Jamal was being bullied. Like,
you see, he used to complain that he used to be bullied. There was another, I think, Kirkley's guy that came, that Jamal said somebody gonna knife him or something. I think that should be on record.
Yeah.
I think when we investigated, I think it was a lot of bollocks.
I'm gathering that by reading the school records. That he made accusations, and then when they were investigated,
and there were a lot of bollocks.
He lied.
Yeah.
Now ITV, Piers Morgan, you used your platform to incite hatred of a young child. No time for facts or the inconvenient truth. Surely you must have known the truth, because within a few hours of the story breaking, I was receiving dozens of messages from parents, pupils and staff saying there was much more to the story than met the eye. So I did what any journalist could have done, should have done. I asked questions. Were you just being lazy? Was it willful blindness? Or are you just incompetent, Piers? And the BBC's Jeremy Vine. To you personally, was it clinical cowardice? After all, you didn't reveal the white boy's name. You just told everyone where to find it, on Twitter. Were you afraid of being sued? Although it wouldn't have been the BBC licence fee payers picking up your legal bills, would it? Or was this your Pontius Pilate moment? Condemning a child whilst washing your hands of any responsibility? Because that's what you did. And you didn't seek the truth either. Piers, Jeremy, your lazy, inept reporting was not without consequence, as we will see. You incited hatred, you succeeded. And that's contempt. Your actions, not Bailey's, led to Bailey and his family being driven from their home in the middle of the night. Like the very refugees you claim you care about. The hate you incited was off the scale. Men with machetes had arrived at the school. Gangs were roaming the streets looking for Bailey. West Yorkshire Police told Bailey's mum that the terrorism threat had been raised to red. They had intelligence of people coming from Bradford to get Bailey and his family. Rather than deal with a threat, they moved Bailey and his family to a place of safety.
So, whilst one child had the support of the whole country, had the support of the Prime Minister, Sajid Javid, the local football club, everyone rallying behind this child, £160,000 donated to him. The other child, in this incident, his family were driven from their home. Threats, groups of men looking for him, ready to commit violence against him. And the police stopped the mum. So the police took the family, the police went and got the family to get them out of their house through imminent danger. And they were taking them to relocate them here. Let's have a look. The Night Inn. This is the accommodation that Bailey's mother, with two 9-year-old sisters and children, were being relocated to. This one-star hotel, where rooms are rented by the hour, next door to a brothel. The imam, who brought a mob of men up to the school, he has 3 mosques within a stone's throw of where we're standing now. Bailey's mother, through her sense, looked up this hotel, saw it was owned by Muslims, read the reviews that it's a prostitute racket drug hole, and got out of the police meat wagon with her children to take them to safety herself. But this is where Kirklees Council were housing those children and that family. This is the most Muslim populated area of Leeds. That family were taken to so-called safety, surrounded by mosques in what is a Muslim ghetto, which is why I'm getting bibbed and going to cause a scene now.
We went to see from neighbours what it was like at the time of the incident.
I think it was a BMW X5, and there were about 6 Asian lads in it, and they threatened to firebomb the house.
God.
Yeah. They threatened to shoot her.
To shoot the mum?
The mum. They threatened to to rape kids.
Well, they come outside and done all that?
They shout and scream.
Shout and screaming it.
Stuff like that.
Well, I saw the video because a neighbour had shared it, and then I saw on the Yorkshire Live them making Bailey out to be really horrible and that Jamal was a poor little victim, and it wound me up. So I commented on it. The victim wasn't a victim, he hit me in the back with a hockey stick. And then within the space of 2 hours I had about 250 comments saying that I was lying, that I must have been excluded from the school because I'm a liar. Just horrible comments like that. None of them believe in me.
And did you take the comment down?
Yeah, I didn't want to, but my mum was worried for repercussions, so she asked me to take it down, so I did.
This is the area that Kirklees Council thought it was the right place to send a child and his family, who were wanted at the time, the main imam outside their school, with mobs of Muslim men looking for them, and this is where they decided to send them. They basically dropped them in their backyard. That's what they were doing. This is the hotel. This is, I believe, a 4-star hotel. It's totally full of illegal immigrants. This is across the country, so the point to make is that illegal immigrants come here, young fighting age men, not families, not children, and this is where councils house them. Let's have a look. Hello boys. How you doing? Do you mind if I ask, what country are you from, lads?
No, speak English.
You do speak English. Just what country are you from?
Iran.
Iran?
Yeah.
Iran, okay.
Yeah, Iran.
Kurdistan, Iran, okay. No, that's cool, man. I'm just seeing. Is the hotel full?
Yeah.
Yeah, full. You enjoying it here?
Yeah. Nice hotel, nice food.
Nice hotel, nice food.
Yeah, healthy food.
Healthy food. It looks like a nice hotel. Yeah, how many people are in here?
I think we're 200.
200. Lots of children?
My eye problem, I think I have the little children.
No children?
My non-children.
No, not many children, no. But it's a nice hotel. Nice hotel. It is a nice hotel, and if you look at where the other family were being housed in Beeston, and you compare it to this 4-star hotel, nice food, as our friend says. Healthy food. Yeah, hello, bro. Hi. How you doing?
Hey, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, we're off now, mate. We're done now.
That's nice.
Yeah. Do you know what they have in here? They have a full-time doctor and nurses, full-time stationed in here. Full-time. So you know when you can't, my dad tried to get a doctor's appointment earlier, couldn't get one. Full-time. Full-time.
Very bad.
The food's bad?
Yeah.
The food's bad? Is it free?
Yes.
Yeah, it's free.
They closed that school. As soon as the media and all that died, they sent in chief inspectors of fucking Ofsted. We knew they're going to fail it on every fucking thing they can think of.
I had governors who had friends in the media who tried to explain to them
there's a lot more to this.
All of that and the Ofsted and, you know, the whole shebang, but it was never picked up.
Apart from my reporting, there was not a single media statement giving the other side of this story. The staff knew, other pupils knew. They could have exposed the lie. Why didn't they?
The incident, I always call it the incident. Yeah. The incident has reoccurred, it's come to my door. They said you can't talk about it because you've got a non-disclosure agreement. They're not satisfactory. So that was the reason they triggered it.
They were either not free to tell you the truth, or they were terrified of the consequences. And that's for so-called journalists. Some can't find the truth. Some won't tell the truth. And some, they're afraid of the truth. But me, as a journalist, it's my job to present you the truth.
If you want my honest opinion, they said, get up there, this is, I don't know who they is, get up there and shut that school. Get up there and get rid of this.
You see, when the media and politicians decide to kill a story, when they decide to hide the truth from you, they'll do whatever it takes. They shut down the school. It's gone. Everyone lost their jobs. You see, once this lie about a racist attack had gone global, the truth could never be allowed to come out. The real truth, that a young Syrian refugee was struggling to fit into his new environment, was problematic. His allegedly abusive and violent conduct towards teachers and children
was allowed to run unchecked. Why? Did the school authorities turn a blind eye rather than be accused of victimising the boy, of being racist towards him? They stayed silent. The truth may have triggered accusations of racism or sparked discussion about immigration policies. The challenges of achieving the successful integration of migrants we welcome into the United Kingdom. And the need to take those challenges seriously. You see, Jamal was one of 20,000 Syrian refugees who come to the UK as part of the United Nations resettlement programme. The government could not allow their policies to be examined and the consequences and their incompetence to be exposed. And if you don't think the government is incompetent, you ain't been paying attention to anything. Priti Patel's been talking tough, really tough, on controlling our borders for years. And yet we have boatloads of illegal economic migrants being escorted across the English Channel and put into these luxury accommodation at your expense. This ineptitude does nothing for the refugees who come here legally, who we welcome into England. Refugees who are trying to integrate and make a new life here. And who was the community's rage directed at? All Syrian refugees. That's who. When in fact, there are many families of Syrian refugees in the area. We're told, all of them delightful, working hard to settle and integrate into the country they can now call home. I spoke to multiple refugee families.
In the school problem, my children, no any problem.
No problems with your children? No, that's it. So you've had a good experience in the school?
Yeah. I used to have 2 friends and they don't bully and they don't care where from country I come or anything.
Okay.
And when I talk English, like we was about 1 month we've been in here and I used to not to speak English very much. So they used to tell me how to speak all that thing, and now I'm in year 8 and I know to speak English and I made more friends. Okay. And now like I'm fine.
And you're fine? Yeah. And then no problems?
Yeah.
I don't feel safe at school. Sometimes I say to my dad, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was just crying and I didn't do nothing because I respect the school rules.
Who told Jamal to go on camera and say this? Who arranged the media tour? Who encouraged him to take legal action? He was originally going to sue the school for not looking after him and then decided to sue me instead. Who told him to put this in his statement to the High Court? You see, Jamal doesn't like to break the school rules. Here's the problem. This is his behaviour record. Almost 100 codes for bad behaviour. Truancy, verbal abuse to teachers, physical violence towards pupils, and lying. Yeah, there's plenty for lying. You see, I haven't got all of Jamal's school records. Large sections of documents I was given were blacked out. We tried to get access, but we weren't allowed. And the lawyers wrote to the court to explain they had misplaced documentation. And finally, as you can hear, the lawyers decided what they were going to allow me to see. Whilst I was preparing my defence, Jamal's lawyers decided what I could see. And this global news story wasn't an accident. It was all carefully planned. You see, the day before the video went viral, a GoFundMe page was set up for Jamal. And the video went viral the day after a criminal record check come back on Jamal. Why would his lawyers do a criminal record check? Well, they had to make sure this was financially beneficial exercise, wasn't going to be derailed by an unhelpful past. 15-year-old Jamal, his record was clean, by the way. Mohammed Akunji, the jihadist lawyer of choice, was immediately on a global media blitz.
Listen, about Akunji himself, I'm after him for my own reason.
Right, okay. Nothing sinister though, is it?
Oh, fuck, no, journalistic.
Oh, journalistic, oh, that's good.
Oh, no, fucking totally journalistic. I want to get all the background on him. You reckon he was a member of that?
Yeah.
Al-Midra Haroun are a prescribed terrorist organisation. Almost 60% of terrorists in British prisons are ex-members of this organisation. They kill, they murder, they slaughter. That is the organisation that Mohammed Akunji and his brother were allegedly, according to this top mainstream Muslim British journalist, they were members of it. How does a Syrian lad find himself working with a jihadist lawyer of choice before this video even went out? Before anyone has seen this viral video? Within 2 weeks, the lawyers had been made the beneficiaries of the GoFundMe page of £160,000. A plan to sue the school, that's put on hold. And a plan to sue Moi for libel was launched. What riches had these lawyers promised Jamal and his family? School records were edited. Migration Yorkshire clamoured to make this playground fight about race and hate. They contacted the Home Office as soon as they heard about this playground fight. Yeah, the Home Office, a playground scuffle. Why are they contacting the Home Office instantly? Someone went further. You see, we had this school incident report analysed by a graphologist, someone who analyses handwriting. It appears to show that a second person with very different handwriting doctored the report to allege that Bailey had threatened to stab Jamal. Even though all the witness reports mentioned there was only one teacher there, so only one teacher could have done an incident report. So, with the careful planning of the jihadist's favourite lawyer and the enthusiastic support of some useful idiots, it was possible for the lies to go round the world twice before the truth had had a chance to put its pants on. I now need to mention other repercussions of what happened in Almonbury. I was being sued for reporting the things that were said to me about Jamal. I had to defend myself. The judge had already ruled that I was not allowed to argue it was in the public's interest for people to hear a different perspective of Jamal. I had to prove that the information reported to me was true. That's not the kind of burden placed on Piers Morgan or Jeremy Vine. Piers can describe Bailey as vermin without being held to account. And who is behind propagating this deception and the lawsuit against me? You see, this is where we get to meet the most sinister part of the unholy alliance. All sorts of people are helping out, but leading the posse from the front is the jihadist lawyer of choice. He represented Shamina Begum. You know, the jihadi terrorist that's out in Syria? He represented, I think, Michael Adebolajo, Lee Rigby's killer. I think he's even had to change his name because he's got such a terrible track record. So this is the lawyer who's suing me and who the media celebrated that he had served me papers, even though I wasn't in the country. If you've pillaged, if you've plundered, if you've raped and you've beheaded, and you say you've done it in the name of Islam, well, these are the lawyers for you. The lawyers who stepped forward for ISIS-Bide Shamina Begum, who've been fighting to get her back into our country, who defended Michael Adebolajo, who beheaded Lee Rigby. This is Mohammed Akunji. And his colleague, Farouk Bajwa, who's been banned from claiming legal aid. Yeah, banned from claiming legal aid for putting in fraudulent expense claims. Let me rewind a bit. Let's go back a few weeks. There's an important piece of background information to this.
Don't know the full ins and outs of it, but basically to inform that a group call themselves Antifa UK.
Yeah.
Heard of them?
Yeah.
To be honest, I kind of haven't. And Antifa Dundee, it basically says I'm planning to hurt or possibly kill Tommy Robinson because they know where he lives and want to silence him. They've got their hands on, it says they've got hands on some AK-47s, make petrol bombs and stuff. And allegedly say they're going to put these petrol bombs through your door when he sleeps. They say they're also planning to attack a few MPs.
Now, at the heightened tensions with multiple Osman warnings, they now take back the radar phone, the one option we have to go direct to the police, and they are removing it at this current moment.
Where are you from? I'm from the counter-terrorism policing unit that Carla works with. Okay. So Carla and I work very closely together.
So what did you just say? Basically, the radar phone or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The phone, the emergency phone.
We'll be taking that back.
You'll be taking that back.
Yeah, those phones are designed for a. No,
are you for real? Like, so when there's a heightened threat and people have come to the house and the address has been put out where my kids are, you're then going to take the panic phone back. It's Christmas 2018. The police come to my family's home to tell me that people in Antifa, far left violent extremist organisation, are planning to kill me and my family. See, who were the first to comment on this video? Well, Mohammed Akunji of Farouk Bajwa & Co. Of course, the jihadis' lawyers of choice, but also Mike Stutchbury, an independent journalist, an Antifa activist. So the jihadist lawyers knew Antifa were planning to kill me, then actually commented on the video of the Osman warning. You see, what happened next is interesting, although not interesting to the Solicitors Regulation Authority or the Law Society, the people who should be interested in the integrity of our lawyers.
It will be live streamed. I'm not in charge of filming or anything like that. That's down to the guys over here.
And yeah, literally nobody wanted to do this, so we thought, what mug can we find who would agree to this?
So 2 lawyers who know Antifa are planning to kill me seek out an Antifa extremist, hire him for one day, just one day, and send him to live stream the serving of papers to my home, my family's home. Papers which had already been served, by the way, with a gang. When my wife and children were there, when they knew I was abroad, lawyers commissioned the Antifa extremist to broadcast my home address in order, as they put it, to cause a spectacle.
The law firm or the lawyer who's been, sort of taking the lead on the Tommy case wanted to make sure, doubly sure, that Tommy got the letter. Actually went out two different ways, and he wanted to make a bit of a spectacle out of it. And this is all very amusing.
A group supported by Mike Stutchbury came to the home that my wife and children were in on a Sunday afternoon when I wasn't even in the country. So let's have a look at Mike Stutchbury, who calls himself a journalist, who promoted this event, who shared it and encouraged it, who found it amusing that my wife was so scared she had to ring the police. My wife has been sat down and told in her home that Antifa are planning to kill her. They're planning to kill our family and harm our family. She's been told that she may get acid in her face. Well, how do you think she felt on a Sunday afternoon whilst my children are playing outside on their bikes? To be told that Antifa were on their way to our home. Let's have a look at Mike Stutchbury, the man that sent them. Here he is self-admitting that he is part of Antifa. Here he is promoting violence against his opposition. Punch them, punch them, punch them. Here he is hoping that buses full of Antifa get shipped in to smash people's skulls in. Here he is calling for white genocide. Mike Stutchbury is an extremist. He's a far left extremist who currently is playing a victim. He encouraged people to come, and he sent people and was part of an organisation that communicated together to send people to the home where my wife and children were when I wasn't there. He even crowdfunded to support them in their action.
He was looking at various people, and eventually he sort of came on to Dick Coughlin, I can't say it properly, who is a YouTuber who has made videos about Tommy for, God, almost 10 years, I think, who's a real critic. I don't know if you've checked him out, but he's a funny guy.
Check it out.
Yeah, he's sort of, got red hair. He calls, he's an ex-crackhead, basically.
And who is this Antifa extremist hired to come to my kids' home? Keep watching.
Okay, folks, we're here in Salso. I'm about to, me and Murphy are about to pop off. I went up to where number and they said, right, we'll take that from him, we'll make sure he gets it.
And later that night, the Antifa extremists hired by their lawyers had a message for me and my children.
And on that note, see, on that happy note, oh, by the way, Tommy, I am going to mince your kids, mate.
Let's have a look at the man that they sent. The man that you can see the Muslim lawyer handing privileged documentation, giving this man my children's home address. That's what he done, fully aware of the serious danger my family are in. And he hands them my children's address. They then come to my children's home. My wife gets a phone call. My children run off the drive. They lock themselves in the house. They ring the emergency 999 call for the police to come. They press panic buttons. They need support because Antifa are coming. They came. They told the Muslim lawyer. He's fully aware they're coming to live stream where my family are. They live stream and dox the name of the road. They doxed the door number.
I went up to where number and they said, right, we'll take that from him, we'll make sure he gets it.
The man specifically chosen, he was chosen. He says in his own video.
The lawyer in this case was a guy called Mohammed Sanimi Akunjra, who works for a solicitors in London called, I shit you not, Farouk Bajwa and Co. Solicitors of London. I get asked by this guy, that they've decided that Tommy Robinson is going to be served legal papers so he can be sued by this family. And they asked me, do I want to be the one to go along to serve the legal documents?
Let's have a look at who Dick Coughlan is. Let's look at some of the things he said. Here he is promoting hatred against black people. Serious, this is a crime. The comments he makes are a crime. Here he is promoting hatred against Pakistanis. Here he is singing a song promoting anti-Semitism. Singing a song about lampshades being made out of Jewish people's skin from the Holocaust.
Third right, you're a good killer kite. We're white, far right, and we're gonna have a fight. You're in the outskirts, you can go in the gas chamber, then we'll throw you in the pit. We're just following orders, man. We're trying to get paid. You might get out of here, but you'll be a lampshade.
A self-confessed, racist, anti-Semitic crackhead was sent to my children's property. He talked about raping my wife in her skull socket. He talked about my children being fed through a meat grinder. He talked about burning my house down whilst masturbating with my family in it. Now, other than to terrorise my wife and children, why would any sane person do this? It worked, okay? Tipped off by a friend who saw the gang on live stream approaching, my ex-wife hit the panic button and barricaded herself and our children in a bedroom. The police thankfully responded in time. And these are exactly the same tactics being used against the unbelievably courageous children in Almonbury. Threats of violence and rape against children who are willing to stand with me in defence of the truth at the High Court of London. The video release, media, GoFundMe, Antifa, it all happened at the same time. It was coordinated and it was about hate and making money. And how that far left activist, who appears to be an anti-Semitic, Jew-hating, black-hating racist, came to my home with his gang and threatened to kill my children. These lawyers, the mainstream media, they don't care about refugees. They don't care about Jamal. They don't care about the truth.
Say that bloke who made the video saying he's going to kill the kids.
Yeah.
Can you, if you didn't do it, I know 100%, give a statement. I know, I was there.
Okay.
Give a statement about that. She complained about it. She contacted, we'll remember, it would have been the liaison officer at the time, to ask if he was arrested. I found out his address and I gave you all the information for him. So even now, say now, looking at that, can he be arrested now then?
I don't know what happened with the previous report, because when we search on our system that we currently use,
He probably got buried.
I can't see any crime report that was linked to it.
You see, the next day, knowing I'd been provoked with threats against my ex-wife and my children, no doubt thinking they would catch me conspiring to commit violence and lock me up on a conspiracy charge. Here, outside my ex-wife's house, men in a car that has never been registered, check the registration plate, so presumably from the security services, with listening devices recording what's being said in my home. The involvement of the security services may explain why Dick Coughlan, the man who publicly threatened to murder my children, has never even been spoken to or arrested, despite my wife's complaints.
What are you doing? Show me who's in the back of your car.
There's no one in the back of the car.
So what are you doing then?
We're not here, anything to do with you.
What are you doing then?
Well, what do you think we're doing?
I think you're something to do with me.
No.
Who's just work for? So what are you doing? And there is someone in the back. I know there's someone in the back. So what are you doing here?
What do you think we're pressing?
I don't know who you are. That's what I want you to tell me. Come on, tell me what you're doing. Can you tell me what you're doing then? Because essentially I've got threats against me. I know you. Yeah? So what are you doing here? If I turn it off, you can tell me what you're doing.
We go in.
Who's in the back of your car?
No one's in the back.
Who's in the back of your car? You're not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. I'm not moving. Let me see who's in the back of your car. Tell me what you're doing in my house. I want to know what you're doing, bro. That's all I want to know is what you're doing. I've got police officers sat with a recording, in a recording van. In the back of this van is a recording station. I'm not standing, you're not going, but no, because what you're doing, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
They're sat in the back of their van. This is recording devices. The whole of this back thing, because he's just opened it up when I got him out, the whole of this back thing is recording where they're pointing there, because what this is has been a setup. These police officers are setting me up. They're setting me up. It's a setup. They're setting me up by sending people to my house because they think I'm going to react and do something, and they're recording it with listening devices.
We checked the vehicle registration plate outside the house on the government website, and there's no such vehicle.
Let's not forget the politicians, our fearless leaders. It was only when I went alone to the home of self-declared journalist Mike Stutchbury to ask him why he had done what he had, and why he thought it was funny to intimidate my children. Some of you may have seen that people have been outside my home, intimidating my family. The difference is, when they come to my home, 5 men come to my home. I'm on my own. I've had to move my children who are scared and upset, and people encouraged people to participate in coming to my address. One of those such people who... It was only then that the fearless then Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Tom Watson, steps forwards, ignoring reality completely.
Every major social media platform other than YouTube has taken down Stephen Yaxley Lennon's profile because of his hateful conduct. Late on Monday night, Yaxley Lennon turned up at a journalist's home, banging on the doors and windows, demanding to be let in. And after being escorted away by the police, he returned at 5 a.m. and continued his intimidation. The incident was live streamed. He later warned journalists in a YouTube video to expect a knock at the door. Does the Secretary of State think that it's right that YouTube and the parent company Alphabet continues to give this man a platform?
It'd be funny, no? If it wasn't so insidious. The hardly honourable Mr Watson totally misrepresented what had happened, and from behind his shield of parliamentary privilege, bravely declared that I'd been terrorising a journalist. Journalist? Stutchbury's an Antifa activist who incites violence and wants to kill white people. Terrorising. Was I terrorising? Mr Watson bravely demanded that I be removed from YouTube. YouTube had only recently confirmed that none, not one, of my videos had broken any of their stringent guidelines. And my videos hadn't broken any laws. It was clear I hadn't harassed anyone, certainly not Mike Stutchbury, if indeed he is a journalist. But none of that mattered. My wife and children left their family home that night. They never went back. In fact, having their lives endangered by the jihadist lawyers. See, my wife started legal action against Mohammed Akunji and Farouk Bajwa's firm. But Mo & Co, Mohammed Akunji and Farouk Bajwa, you see, they weren't so keen on facing the law as they were on abusing the law to persecute others for financial and ideological reasons. On the 31st of March 2019, they promptly collapsed their law firm. They'll never be involved in the case. That's what they said. And Dr. Farouk Bajwa, well, he's no longer going to be a lawyer. He'll be living in Pakistan. That's it. That's what they said. That's how easy it was for Mo & Co to escape justice. Interestingly, they're still signing documents on the case on the 6th of June, months after saying they're not involved. Several other law firms have reported them to the Law Society, the body that is supposed to make sure lawyers behave ethically. Nothing's been done. I wonder why. In fact, all the lawyers working at Farouk Bajwa & Co just moved across to a new law firm called Burlington's. And guess what? Yeah, Burlington's took on Jamal's case against me. Farouk Bajwa now works for Burlington's. Farouk Bajwa's son now works for Burlington's. Farouk Bajwa is Burlington's GDPR expert. Pretty ironic, no? Farouk Bajwa & Co leaked my children's address to an Antifa activist to put it online for everyone. And if we've been stupid enough to expect more ethical behaviour from Burlington's than from Farouk Bajwa and Mohammed Akunji, well, we'd have been disappointed.
I just really, which I've been trying to do, I need all of the disclosure, which I haven't had. I haven't had a full disclosure of his school records.
Therefore, to make sure
that we haven't, that some documents haven't been lost in the transfer of the bar from Farouk Bourgeois to Burlington's. We have done another subject access request to the council for Jamal.
And how long would the council take for that?
I don't know. I don't think they gave us a time frame, did they, Luke?
No, they didn't, unfortunately.
So what you're saying is you believe there may be things that I haven't been disclosed. You don't know how long they're going to take, but you won't agree to an adjournment.
No. Our position is that we're not agreeing to an adjournment. Those are my instructions.
Because my concern, and serious concern, is the safety of the witnesses, and it's a genuine. And if I don't believe for 1 minute that Mohammed Akunji or Farouk Bourgeois give a shit about any of this, or Jamal. Yeah, I generally don't think they do. And this
I'm just going to say, Farouk Bourgeois and Mohammed Akunji have nothing to do with this case. This is my case.
How come then?
To anybody from Farouk Bourgeois.
How come then Farouk?
Burlington started this thing.
How come Farouk Bourgeois signed a form 3 months after he left then to do with this case?
It's absolutely. It was. If that was the case, it was before I gave the undertaking, and he wasn't involved in this case at all.
He signed a form dated June. In June, he signed a form, and the date on that form that he signed is June. He left this case in March, apparently. How come?
Well, if you send it through to me, I'll have a look and I'll give you an explanation as to why. I'm not quite sure what form you're talking about.
Although you'll see it on my documentary. Okay, so when you send me what you decide is relevant, yeah, how am I going to know what you've cut out?
Well, I suppose you wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Does that seem fair? If the information is not relevant, then what harm could it do in me having it?
But it's not about harm, Stephen. It's about privacy.
For the last 3 days, since you received videos so that you become aware that I have video evidence that's going to prove my case, since that point, my ex-wife and my children, for the last 2 days, have had police at their house because they've been receiving threats. On top of that, pictures of my ex-wife have been put online by the same people who are in bed with Mohammed Akunji. Then, 2 days ago, Mohammed Akunji doxed my mother and father's house. Last night, that house at 1 o'clock in the morning was smashed to pieces with bricks through the windows. Yeah, this is all going on in the background. I've been trying to get my stuff ready, but just so that you're aware of what's going on as to why I don't trust a word you say. When you have Farouk Bourgeois' son working for your company, and Farouk Bourgeois was the man that sent people to threaten to kill my children, I'm wondering why in the last 48 hours or last 72 hours, since I disclosed information to you, why my family and loved ones have become under persecuted harm, of which is all detailed with police records and video footage of everything that's been going on. So I'm super concerned and don't trust you or your party to decide what's relevant in this case. I don't trust you. So if this is to be a fair trial about getting out the truth, if that's what you're working for, you need to give me your disclosure instead of reviewing it and taking bits out, which is what you've already done with the school records. You'll say, because I know that's not the full school records. So, and you've covered up things which, and Luke, Francesca told me, I have a recording of her telling me that Burlington's did not redact anything. Yet in court, you had to admit you did. I've got the recording of her telling me it. Everything was redacted prior to coming to you. And then in court, you sit and admit that you have been redacting things. So forgive me, it's just lie after lie. This is Burlington's lawyers losing documents that they're supposed to send to me and deleting things that they don't want me to see. Misplaced. How do you misplace documents that were electronically filed on their case management system at Farouk Bourgeois & Co, then passed over to Burlington's? All of this is because they're sharing it. And all of this is to put pressure on me in the weeks before it. And all this. And this is Akunji. I guarantee you this is Akunji. Akunji working with Resisting Hate. The account that's put it on is Resisting Hate. Yeah? Resisting Hate, who Akunji hired with Dick Coughlin to send to the house before. They're like his little minions. So now he knows that it's going to land on his lap, the whole lie that they've told, and this is the actions they use. Can't play the man, so they play the kids and the family. You don't need to be scared, Tanya, because they're doing this.
Did they just call me and say goodbye?
Yeah, I know, babe, but they're purposely just doing that.
How long got my number?
But when they're doing this, they're just doing this to try and cause me shit and make you worry.
So I know it's easier said, but you don't need to worry, yeah? They're doing this so that I don't beat them in court. That's why they're doing this, yeah? And
Do you think they do know where we live?
No, mate.
Danny Barker rang me saying if anyone turns up to the house, just ring him and he'll come in a minute.
Yeah, he will, mate. Yeah, it's pissed me off. Oh, mate.
Alright, cool.
Oh, mate.
Alright, cool.
So, the mad thing is, the whole time this goes on, the media and all of them act like we're the bad guys. That we've been, like I'm the one persecuting people or targeting them. And they're such cowards. They're such cowards, man. I just got a phone call and they said goodbye. I'm so scared. I've told the police, but I'm so scared.
Hello?
Jenna, who's just rung Spencer?
We don't know at the minute.
What are the police saying?
I'm just making a statement.
Okay, but just quickly, what are they getting that account that's put a picture of you online? Who showed you that picture, Jenna?
It's on Twitter.
Yeah, who
I saw it
found
myself.
You saw it yourself, okay. And
Yeah.
Are the police sorting out to get rid of it?
Yeah, they've taken the address of the Twitter person that's put it out.
If you can say, I've given them 50 addresses of people who have done exactly this over the years, including the redhead man who... What about the redhead bloke who threatened to kill the kids? What have they said about that?
Well, nothing really.
No? It's a crime. Do you know what I mean? If I make a video threatening to kill some kids, I'll be arrested. So the point, what you need to ask them specifically and say to them, you made a complaint, someone threatened to murder your children, you had to leave your home, yeah? Those threats have now followed you to where you're now living, yeah? And they're coming from the same people, the same organisations, the same people they done fuck all about last time. They didn't nick them, they didn't speak to them, the solicitor's still acting with impunity, doing it to my mum and dad yesterday. See, you need to specifically ask them, Jen, I want to answer out of them, when you made a complaint against Dick Coughlin last year, why have they not done anything? And get you a follow-up and an answer as to why they haven't done anything, if you can. And are the kids all right? Am I right that you managed to track the number?
Yes.
So you know who made those phone calls to her and must...
We know where the number came from,
Yep.
And who that phone was registered to. So that's what, obviously, we cannot prove. Well, I at that time I wasn't able to prove who. I only could say where the number came from.
As in whose phone it is.
Who the phone is registered to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously for me, this was threatening phone calls a week before a High Court trial, trying to pervert the course of justice. How come no one's been arrested?
I can't see anything on the crime report.
If I send you evidence, which I'm going to anyway, because it's all going to the judge, if I send you evidence of Mohammed Akunji doxing my mum and dad's address, if I send you evidence of criminal damage and attacks in the middle of the night at an old pensioner's home, and I show you evidence of pictures of my wife being put on, ex-wife being put online, and my son, they rung my 11-year-old son's phone. The police are all involved. They've been threatening my 11-year-old son. Yeah, this is what's gone on. If I send you evidence of that, do you think you'll support an anonymity order to protect the children in this case?
Stephen, I can't, answer that because I don't have instructions to answer that. I don't have conduct of the matter. But what I can clarify for you is some of the issues that I can give answers on. One of those of which I heard you made reference to Farouk's son working. He is not involved in the case in any way at all. Has no access to any files whatsoever.
You've heard how Luke Hackett, he couldn't explain why they were redacting and deleting information from documents before handing them over to me. Information I should have been given. He couldn't answer the simple question, who decides what's relevant? Unfortunately, in terms of integrity, Burlingtons don't appear to be any better than Farouk Bajwa and Mohammed Akunji. You see, I was told he'd violently attacked a girl. I was told he'd attacked someone as part of a gang. And I was told he'd threatened to stab someone. In fact, Jamal had violently attacked more than one girl. and we presented the evidence to the court, including the testimony of courageous children who came to court. These children weren't Tommy Robinson fans, but they came to the High Court to speak the truth. So let me just look at one of the pupils that come to court and testified. This young girl wasn't a supporter of mine, didn't support my politics, but she still came to court and testified. Let me have a look at her school record and read what her teacher says about her. Charlie is a very mature and hard-working member of the Forum. She has been an absolute pleasure to have in the Forum. She has represented the Forum in the school council and in various events across the school throughout the school year. She represents all that is positive and exciting about studying at Almonbury. Charlie is now currently studying law at university. Why would this girl randomly lie, before I was involved? Why would she then travel to the High Court of London and commit perjury? Because that is what the judge has found, that she's made it all up. And Jamal, the Syrian refugee, the one with multiple lies on his school records and behavioural disciplinaries everywhere, well, he was telling the truth. That is what he found in this case. Why would a mother post images and send me those images of her daughter beaten black and blue? Why? For what reason? Why would the staff lie? Why would the head teacher lie? Why would every single person who was recorded covertly lie about what Jamal was like? 12 different people lying about what Jamal was like. Why? You see, the judge has really helped us out here. The judge says people can lie for reasons that make no sense. Sometimes for no reason at all. He could not readily identify any explanation for why some of these people were prepared to do so and lie. He concludes the alleged assaults, they never happened at all. Despite Jamal's school record, which you've seen, the judge states the claimant's record is overwhelmingly positive. He acknowledged Jamal has a record of lying, but decides on this occasion it's Jamal who's telling the truth and everyone else is lying. Really? We waited 10 weeks for this? That's your conclusion? That's the logic from the highest libel judge in our land? There was no jury. That's right, there's no jury. All of these people were lying. But Jamal, he was telling the truth. Jamal, who could only find his dad, Jihad, to speak for him. Not a single teacher, not a classmate, not a friend, not a neighbour or a support worker came to court to support Jamal's version of events. Jamal, who says he only broke the rules a few times at school, and even then, it weren't his fault. His school record suggests something very different. I want to be clear and fair to Jamal. He denies every accusation against him, completely and utterly. On the day the 5 courageous children appeared in the dock, giving testimony against Jamal. Jamal didn't even show up in court that day to face his accusers. Neither did the press. The press actually left court when the witnesses stood up to give their evidence in my defence. It's alarming to think we have this kind of intellect at the top of our judiciary. The story of these 2 children is actually a story about free speech, or the death of it. It's a story about how the mainstream media is more interested in pushing an agenda than giving you balance and truth. How it continues, despite Leveson, to act with impunity. Is the media held to account for what they report? Have Piers Morgan or Jeremy Vine been held to account? No. It's a story about how the law is being manipulated and exploited by the far left and Islamists to destroy the lives of anyone who speaks out against the accepted so-called progressive, so-called liberal narrative. Or about the poisonous influence of Islam's Sharia law in our society. Is the law fit for purpose? No. And it's a story about our government and judiciary's disdain for free speech and the truth, and the lengths that they will go to in order to silence dissent, especially with its new and increasing powers. Is our government being held accountable for its actions? No. Is the judiciary independent of political influence? You've seen all the evidence. You decide. Whether you agree with my politics is irrelevant. When dissent is crushed, free speech dies, and governments move one step closer to tyranny. The lawyers know the truth. Even Jamal's father, jihad. He knows the truth about his son. They all knew the truth and were using Jamal to further their agenda, regardless of the consequences for Jamal. They continued to pursue the case, which incidentally has caused my divorce and bankruptcy. My ex-wife had to choose between her marriage to me and the safety of our children. I'm glad she chose our children. We're still best mates. You see, Jamal's lawyers told me very early on, if I apologised and paid them 50 grand, they'd drop their case. If you're watching this, you know the decision I made. I won't apologise for reporting what I was told, for what I believe to be true, for standing up for Bailey, a young lad unjustly vilified by pretty much everyone. But in silencing dissent, are the media and our government any different to the governments they criticise so much? China, Russia, Iran, immigration, COVID, Brexit. If it doesn't fit the narrative, you will not hear the alternative view. And where else have we seen this? Where else have the media, politicians, police and social services hidden for truth for decades, fearful of being called racist? Grooming gangs. That's where. A cover-up of such horrific cost to thousands of young girls in towns and cities across our country. And nowhere worse than under the stewardship of Councillor Shabir Pandor's Kirklees Council. You see, hiding the truth doesn't protect community cohesion. It does the total opposite. It undermines trust in public institutions. It stokes resentment and conflict in our communities. Tragically, those who lead us don't seem to have the moral clarity or courage to speak the truth. They cause the division that they're trying to prevent. People ask me, was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. The truth is always worth defending. I'm still here. If you were born in the United Kingdom, you've already won the lottery of life. An inheritance from our parents and grandparents of freedom, equality under English law and democracy. If we allow ourselves to be silenced, that inheritance is rendered worthless. What legacy will we leave for the children and grandchildren who come after us? None of us can afford to let free speech die. We cannot and we will not be silenced. So you've seen, I'm being sent to jail, I'm being prosecuted for showing you the truth. Nothing else. I didn't lie, okay? They've lied, continually lied. Now for the Attorney General to bring a charge against a member of the public for contempt of court, it has to be in the public interest. I say the Attorney General, this is not the police prosecuting me. In fact, the claimant in this case is not asking for me to be prosecuted. His lawyers are not asking for me to be prosecuted. The Labour government's Attorney General is the one attempting to send me to jail. Now, for it to be in the public's interest, you're a member of the public. You've just watched this expose. Is it in your interest to lock me up for 2 years? How can it be? Let the government know, let the Attorney General know by signing the petition at www.truthontrial.co.uk to let them know you don't support the imprisonment of journalists for reporting facts to you, the British public. Who knows what the future now holds for me? The one thing that gives me a peace of mind if I'm in prison or even if the worst happens is knowing that my family have stability and have security. If you can support them during these times, the link is at www.helptommy.com. I really appreciate your support.
Wow. That's an hour and 45 minutes that went very, very quickly. And I just thought it was so important to show this documentary tonight as Tommy has been put back into jail. And he has laid out the facts very strategically. He has shown that it was actually in the public's best interest to show this documentary, to get these facts out front and in the public's view, and millions, like something like 54 million, if not more, people follow Tommy, have seen the documentary. And as he said, you know, was it worth it? And he's like, absolutely. I recall I had written it in the action that went out on Sunday night, as Ronald Reagan had said, freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. And then it adds, and those in world history have known freedom and then lost it, never have known it again. And so we are living in extreme times. We're at a crossroad right now in Canada, especially, where we still have the opportunity to turn this around. Britain, the UK, they opened the doors to all of this mass migration. I'm talking about the elites who are tied to the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. They had a plan through the Global Compact on Migration and 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They made it out to be a humanitarian effort, but it was actually a planned invasion. So this violence, these rape gangs, the murders that are taking place at the hands of the jihadis and these Muslims, it was all planned. And so the leader of Britain is 100% aware of what is happening, and someone like Tommy Robinson, like Stephen, is a major threat, because I don't know if you ever saw when they had the European invasion taking place, when Angela Merkel and others opened up the doors, and you see people, they would see a few families in the front, women with their children. But what they weren't showing the public through the mainstream media was the mass amounts of young fighting age men that by the hundreds of thousands were coming into these countries. So people were thinking it was humanitarian, that we should be bringing these people in and housing them and helping them. And they took advantage of the West's and the Europeans' hearts that have always been very compassionate and giving. But this has definitely been to our demise. And now we have to take a really hard line at this, and we need to turn it around. So I'm just going to share my screen for a moment before ending this evening. I'll just close on this evening to encouraging you again to please go to Tommy Robinson and on the Twitter, and their admin is constantly posting the updates. As you know that, well, many of you may know that Tommy was out of the country. He didn't have to go back and face these contempt charges, but he chose to. He regrets that he was compelled by the courts to stay silent and not launch this documentary many years ago, and he regrets that. So he was willing to put this video out en masse now and encourage everybody to share it. That's why Action for Canada is taking this on. And make no mistake, what is happening in Europe and throughout Europe and the UK is happening throughout Western countries. Stick with me. Make sure that you go to the description, because I'm going to now move into the weekly news update, and I will be providing you, of course, evidence and information of how the Islamist invasion, the extremist invasion, the Khalistani Sikhs is affecting Canada as well, and to also give you some direction on what you can do. Every offense should not be ignored. We should be taking these on, from desecrating our Remembrance Day to Khalistani Sikh police officers in Surrey who were out in uniform mocking a sword fight. All of these are not free passes. We shouldn't be ignoring this. We have to take on every offense and we need to make sure that they're addressed. And then as we're in the background as well, working on the bigger offenses, which I'll be telling you more about as well. So thank you so much for joining us and with this special documentary tonight. And I look forward to you also watching the weekly news updates, because there's important and relevant information in that as well. So thank you and God bless you.
Hi, this is Action for Canada's Prepper Dan to let you know that we have partnered up with Rainbow Seeds once again to offer you incredible deals this fall, which is the best time of year to order your garden and flower seeds. Rainbow Seeds offers variety packs of seeds, usually comprising of 10 or more packages in each package, be it for vegetables or herbs or teas. These offer an incredible value for your dollar. Now, if tomatoes is your thing, Rainbow Seeds offers 43 different varieties. Beans, 34 different varieties. If carrots is your thing, they offer 14 different varieties, 16 of corn. Cucumbers, 14. What about lettuce? 39 different varieties. At Rainbow Seeds, there is no shortage of different varieties of all kinds of vegetables. They even offer fruit. All Rainbow Seeds are non-GMO, guaranteed to sprout within 60 days upon delivery, and they carry many heirloom varieties. Not sure what to get for the avid gardener in your home or your family? Gift certificates are available in the amounts of $10, $25, or $50. But that's not all. Free shipping is available on all orders over $50 anywhere in the USA or Canada. But there's more. Enter the code ACTION20 in the coupon box at checkout and get 20% off your total order. What a deal! Now is the time to get those perfect gifts that keeps on giving for the next year. Find Rainbow Seed online at rainbowseed.ca, or you can find them at Rainbow Seeds New Brunswick on Facebook. Now's the time to prepare for your growing season next year and get rid of the winter blues before they even come. And on that note, happy shopping and happy gardening.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for joining me as I go through the weekly news update for November 13th. I'm Tanya Gaw, the founder of Action for Canada. We just had an amazing time. We watched the documentary Silence by Tommy Hilfiger, that's going to be an edit. Sorry, that's been almost 2 hours. By Tommy Robinson, who, as you know, he's had to use the name Tommy Robinson, but because of as a pseudonym, because his real name is actually Stephen Yaxley Lennon. And I want to shout that from the rooftops, because this man deserves to be honored. He is so courageous. It was actually an absolute amazing documentary that over 60 million people have already viewed, and we want to make sure that many others do as well. So we're going to include the documentary in the description to the weekly news update, and we ask that you would please share that information. I'm now going to share my screen and review some important news updates, but I would like to start with our map. You know what? Just a second, please. My share screen isn't working. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to share screen. Here is an image of our map. If you're just getting familiar with Action for Canada, we need 1 million people, part of the campaigns and strategies that we're unfolding across the nation. We could turn things around in Canada so quickly if more people would hear about Action for Canada. We are so censored. I usually go from here directly into our Empower Hour page on Rumble. All of our videos are posted here, our weekly news updates, as well as any other special events that we have, such as the homeschooling videos, etc. But our information is really important. I know there's a lot of people out there who are bloggers, who are providing information, but Action for Canada is the only one actually providing solutions in amongst all of these concerning news reports. And so we hope that you will please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you sign up with Rumble. Give us a thumbs up. It's really important for the algorithms. And as well, like I say, we're one of the most censored organizations in Canada, and we really need to get our information out further, so you can help with that. Tonight, like I said, we played the movie Silenced by Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Again, I'm just going to keep encouraging you. Please share his information. And we've also encouraged people to sign up. It's under Tommy Robinson on X. Please follow him so that you can get consistent updates. He was in court today. He has pled not guilty to the terrorism charges that were against him. And so it will be interesting to see where it goes from here. He is truly a courageous hero, an example to men and citizens around the world, that if we expect to come out from underneath this humongous attack against Western democracy, then we need to really take a cue from Tommy. And we need to see that if you watched his final interview before he was imprisoned, I believe it was the day before, with a fellow named Liam, he was in tears, he was emotional, he was real. And he said that it was worth everything in order to expose the tremendously corrupt, evil government in Britain and the globalist agenda, but that as obviously that he feared that he would never come out of prison, because they're putting him in with the population. We're hearing reports that he is being put in a cell for 23.5 hours a day. So there's some conflicting reports. We're praying for his safety. I know within that interview as well that, you know, he talks about God somewhat, and that he's not a Christian, but he said he was bringing, a friend had given him a Bible. And so he was going to be reading that Bible and leaning in, as he had professed that he already was. And I think that's going to be truly a key to his success, is, you know, to find that Jesus is the only freedom that he could possibly find, and that God would preserve and protect his family. In the end of the documentary, he does ask for people to donate to help support his family while he's in prison. He's been charged, you know, £1 million. He's just basically lost everything in order to fight this battle. And this is not limited to Europe and the UK. He is battling on behalf of freedom throughout the world and for democracy for everyone. So anyways, that's just my big shout out to Stephen, and that you would provide that support and share the documentary when we post it on our Rumble page tomorrow. So thank you for that. All right, every weekly news update lately, I have felt compelled to tell you, just to keep you informed and advised, what's happening within the financial system. And it's very concerning. This is a graph of gold reserves of those that it says here, the largest gold holding countries worldwide. As you can see, Canada is, you can't even see it. It's so far down on the chart because they've sold all our gold. And yet we're holding gold for the Netherlands and other countries. And then the next report says that there has been Canadian gold exports to China surge. And so it says it's another sign of gold flowing from the west to the east. And yet Trudeau, in over 9 years of being in office, has never made any efforts to back our dollar with gold. And that's why our dollar is so incredibly fragile. And yet Chrystia Freeland, liar, liar, ends up saying the other day that new data released from, I think it was StatsCan, has said that Canada's economy grew faster than predicted. This is good news for Canadians, and another proof point that our economy is strong and resilient. She is completely lying through her teeth. She has absolutely no support. If you were to go down, everybody is calling her out. And in fact, even the Fraser Institute said, Finance Minister misleading Canadians about economic growth. She is a liar. Boy, oh boy, she's a traitor. She absolutely needs to be tried to the fullest extent of the law. The real news is that Canadians owe $1.76 for every dollar earned. Okay, that's from Statistics Canada. And, you know, like I said, this is extremely concerning how fragile our dollar is. And so we keep trying to encourage as many Canadians as possible that if you have any money to invest in precious metals, again, I'm not giving you any financial advice. I'm just saying that the price of silver is extremely low because of corruption. JP Morgan and others have throttled the price of silver, and in comparison to the price of gold, and it is set to increase. We've already seen those increases, especially over the last six months, even well, 2 years ago, I think it was around $26, and now it's been up to $50 Canadian. And it's expected, you know, to go to $100 US. But if the dollar collapses and the government comes in as a bank bail-in, they will go into our accounts. They will take whatever savings we have, and that's included whatever's in your safety deposit box. And so many people are pulling all of their finances out of the big five banks. I didn't have a chance to post it today, but somebody sent me a notice from the Scotia Bank who had said they are no longer dealing in cash and that they're only going to digital banking. Scotia Bank. And so my apologies that I couldn't get that up today, but I'll try to have it ready for next week's weekly news update. So it is time to take many people are taking their investments, they're taking their RIFs and their RSBs, and they're transferring them, either taking them all out and taking the hit on taxes, which is huge right now, but they can make that money up as silver increases in price. So it is worth you investigating. We have on our homepage, you can click on our precious metals link, and we've had Steve Merrill on a couple of times. We have 2 videos. He's amazing, and he's made a wonderful arrangement with Action for Canada that he loves Canadians so much. This is not about profit, because if it was, he wouldn't have offered to donate half of his finances to a percentage of the contributions that he makes to Action for Canada. And so many people are purchasing through Steve. So we appreciate that because of the donation that he's making. All right, so if you purchase $5,000 or more, he will also provide a pure silver bullet, 1 ounce. And also if you make a referral and somebody, say your neighbor or co-worker, also purchases $5,000 or more, he will also provide you, as the person who made the referral, another silver bullet. And so this is good incentives. We do this honestly out of the best intentions in our heart, that we want to make sure Canadians are okay if and possibly when the Canadian dollar completely collapses. We want you to be prepared for it. And even if something else takes place and your bank stops dealing with cash, then at least you'll have something to trade. They say that purchasing alcohol, cigarettes, and other things like this is something that would be worth, something that you would be able to trade with as well. So I've added financial reports here as well to help you to do a little investigating as to what steps you want to take, but just to encourage you in that. Okay, there is some really good news coming against all of the COVID scam. Detroit jury awards Blue Cross worker $12 million who was fired for refusing to take the COVID vaccine, the mRNA gene therapy. It wasn't a vaccine. And so look at that, 12.69 million to Lisa Domsky. And so I'm very excited about this. This is definitely going to set precedents. And then in Canada as well, a very good news report. Ontario Appeals Court allows defamation case of former teacher concerned about age appropriateness of books to proceed. And that's Carolyn Berjowski. And you know what? She ended up being removed as a district school board teacher. Sorry, not a trustee, as a teacher. And she has continued to fight this good fight. And so her case is proceeding. The court has decided her appeal will move forward. Now, back to the COVID scenario. Again, another promising report is the Dutch government official, a health official, admits COVID pandemic was military operation, and this was headed by NATO. I mean, she comes out and just gives testimony that even the Netherlands National Coordinator for Security and Counterterrorism was involved in working together with NATO, and you could just go ditto to the United States, to Canada, and every other country who was involved in this COVID scam. And it's unraveling. We got to pray for President Trump. Robert Kennedy is going to be coming out, and it's all things about good health. They are going to go after big pharma, and people are going to be going to jail. So what we need to do is we need to really pray that Donald Trump will make it to his inauguration in January, because already Biden and Kamala are trying to push through whatever they can in the last moments that they have. And it's very promising having Trump at the helm. I know that there's some conflicting views of some people that have been appointed, but overall what I'm seeing is incredibly positive, especially the steps that RFK is going to take to undoing 5G, making sure that the food is grown healthy, and that the pharmaceuticals, just the whole thing is undone, as well as the so-called vaccines, and then to remove any kind of protection for the makers of vaccines. I mean, these are huge steps. I can tell you, they're not going to be promoting vaccines anymore. Big Pharma won't be doing that once they're held accountable for this. So really good news. I'm just, because of what I'm going into, I wanted to bring to your attention, under COVID-19, government corruption. You'll see the report at the bottom. I wrote this report in April of 2020. Well, I started it in March, but launched it in April. And I encourage you to go down, because I'm going to show you what's happening in British Columbia. They're trying to, now there's one case of the bird flu, and they've just been frothing at the mouth for something to happen that they could indicate was it was H5N1. I'll make sure I say that wrong. I always get their little acronyms all mixed up, but we just need to be prepared for what's coming in British Columbia. Bonnie Henry was at the front of this attack against Canadians way back in 2020. She led the charge. She was the first one as a health officer to proclaim a pandemic strategy for the nation, and then other health officers from other provinces started to follow suit. So she is now the one proclaiming that there is now the bird influenza is taking off with one case. And so I just think it's important to understand the corruption. If you're kind of new at this, if you're just waking up, this is a great report. I look back on it and I say, holy smokes, was that ever accurate? I even went into hospitals and I videotaped 3 of them. Like it probably was about 20 minutes for me to drive from one hospital to the next, and all of the emergency units were empty. There was no pandemic. What the news was reporting as far as big white tents out in front with lineups of people were all staged. It was all a lie. It's so despicable to look back on it and then to read this report and see how accurate everything was. So I would encourage you to just review it. So I'd like to play not a few minutes of this video. I'll do the one of Bonnie Henry, but this was just CTV News. First ever human case of H5 avian influenza in Canada, found in BC. Apparently it's a young teenager. Samples are now being sent to the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg. Now you have got to remember that way back when, during the pandemic, there were 2 laboratory officials who were walked out of the lab and sent back to China. They were 2 Chinese lab officials. And so this lab was identified as being key to the launching of the COVID pandemic. And so now Bonnie Henry, you'll just listen to her in a moment, wants to proclaim, you know, that there's some legitimacy to sending any of these young person's lab results to this Winnipeg laboratory. It's just frightening to hear how she speaks almost like in a hypnotizing sort of tone of voice. And just concerning that the NDP got into government, I am again going to talk about that because I do believe that the NDP, it was corruption and that they stole the current election, which means that Bonnie Henry is still sitting at the helm as our health official. And when we file our new notice of civil claim, this lady she is going down, and this is just more evidence to her corruption. So let's just play this clip, please.
Surveillance system for respiratory illnesses, including influenza, COVID, RSV, and other viruses, primarily that cause infections at this time of the year in particular. And at this time of the year, given what we have seen in the last few years with migratory waterfowl and increased activity of the H5N1 particularly, all of the influenza viruses that are discovered in humans are tested for the hemagglutinin, the H part. And if they are what we call atypable or untypable in the laboratory, they're at a hospital or community laboratory, they're forwarded to our public health reference laboratory at the BC CDC. And that's indeed what happened in this case. So at the BC CDC, we have the ability to do advanced PCR testing to determine what type of the virus, this influenza is. And that's what determined that this was indeed the H5. So it is called a presumptive positive because our to be confirmed as a truly positive, even though we have confidence absolutely in the PCR tests that are done at the BC CDC lab, it needs to be confirmed at the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg. And so those samples are on their way to Winnipeg. And we hope to have the confirmation very likely within the next hours to days. One of the things that we've had questions about is how do we know what the neuraminidase type is? And that is also something that can be tested for at the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg.
All right, so there's going to be another small clip to this, but I mean, COVID was never isolated. She goes on to speak about the presumptive positive and how they have confidence in the PCR testing. Nobody has confidence in the PCR testing. That was a complete fraud. I'm going to play another clip here, the program that Dr. McCullough, a small documentary he had put together, that the testing, depending on how they're using it, is completely useless. Let me just play this other clip, and then I'm going to finish up with that. Trendy, I'm not hearing anything.
Sorry, Tanya. It is just needing to reload. One moment.
Okay. All right. Just a moment. Just a pause then. How are we doing? Do you want me to skip ahead?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The video is just trying to load. I'll try loading it one more second. So I'll just take it back to you and I'll come right back to the video.
That's okay. You know what, Terenzio, we'll carry on. Anybody can probably just search Bonnie Henry and this most recent, but it's just disturbing because she goes on to say, she talks about contract tracing and that how anybody that had been associated with this young person is being tested and monitored, and that they're testing people throughout the province and monitoring them. And it's like, holy smokes, it's one person. Is this just the rapid advancements of the next pandemic here in British Columbia? And we know that BC is the only one. I mean, they only dropped the pandemic mandates just before the election because David Eby was hoping that that would get him a win, and he wasn't winning, and that's why they cheated and stole the election. And so this is fear mongering. She goes on to talk about that they're testing, the water and doing extensive testing. Again, can you imagine how much that is costing us taxpayers? And then she goes on to say, but we don't know if when testing the water, if it's from humans or animals. I mean, it's totally pointless and useless. And I hope that people are using their critical thinking when they are talking or listening to this evil woman. So I'm just going to move along. A few headlines that Dr. Mackey's has been reporting. Study reveals COVID boosters linked to millions of nursing home deaths, and the toll is rising. And it's just so disgusting. Elderly people across the globe were assured that getting vaccinated against COVID-19 would safeguard them from death. However, a major new peer-reviewed, that's important, peer-reviewed study has exposed the devastating betrayal. COVID-19 mRNA boosters directly contributed to the death of millions of nursing home residents worldwide and to many others. I'm constantly hearing about, we have Action for Canada leaders, family members, who are being diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 cancer, and passing away right now, and other illnesses, heart disease, etc. This is heartbreaking. mRNA injury stories. 5 to 11-year-olds are dropping dead from heart attacks. Are parents really okay with this? What about the 12 to 19-year-olds? Okay, this one was boy shocked death in his father's arms after he collapsed while playing sports at Maine YMCA. And it's a mystery to the majority of people after, how are they going to feel knowing that they thought they did the right thing, giving their children, taking them and giving them this mRNA gene therapy. And Bonnie Henry has been on the front line proclaiming that it was safe for pregnant women, that this is, a safe injection. And this saga continues. This is like pandemic 2.0 coming up here. It's one case of the bird flu. Okay, so Dr. McCullough has been talking about this for a while. I just want to see which one there was treatments. They're saying that even the bird flu that is being noted, the H5N1 throughout the United States, is almost, I'm going to say, like a watered down version of it. It's not as deadly as being reported or as previously. So it's saying currently affecting various animal species and causing sporadic human infections. And I just want to, now this is going to be about 6 minutes. The video itself is a total of 25 minutes, and we'll try to remember to put this in the description. You may want to watch it. I didn't even get through the whole thing today, but I'm always valuing people's time during the weekly news update. But I think this is really important. But you are going to find some of this difficult to watch, but it is the reality of what these monsters are doing to our livestock and to our birds when they have to cull them. And it is reported that when culling chickens, it is saying this is unnecessary. This is a targeted attack against our food chain supply. That's what we're looking at here. And it is cruel. And I'm going to bring scripture into this, especially to emphasize why this is so wrong, and we've got to put a stop to it. So we're going to play just 6 minutes of this, but you will also hear from Carrie Mullison here, who was the creator of the PCR test, and how he's going to tell you that they can manipulate it, that you can find influenza, you can find this in anybody's system, depending on how you set the testing up. So let's go ahead and watch this clip.
Current avian influenza virus strains have been circulating and diversifying in wild bird populations for at least the last 100 years. The practice of exterminating animals to prevent disease spread, with government compensation, has been in use for centuries. Yet, with the advent of PCR testing, the risk of false positives can lead to unnecessary animal exterminations.
If they could find this virus in you at all, and with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful. But it doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything like that.
Since the H5N1 bird flu outbreak began in late 2020, millions of healthy chickens have been culled in an attempt to prevent spread. The conventional practice involves culling all of the birds in a facility in which the virus is detected. The frequently stated rationale for this practice is that highly pathogenic avian influenza has a mortality rate of 90% of domesticated poultry, often within 48 hours, so that one might as well destroy the entire flock and start over with an entirely new one. Often using inhumane methods such as ventilation shutdown.
Ventilation shutdown is the killing of animals by shutting off vents to basically suffocate animals. Ventilation shutdown plus adds carbon dioxide or heat, which only increases the suffering of the animals.
Or foam depopulation, which involves spraying birds with foam to suffocate them. The U.S. government incentivizes this practice, known as depop, by reimbursing the farmer for all culled birds, but not for birds that die of influenza. Because this has long been the conventional practice, there is zero financial motive to wait and see if the virus is indeed as pathogenic as claimed. Currently, there is an urgent need to conduct research on the alternative practice of waiting to see if some percentage of the flock survives and develops herd immunity. The unnecessary culling of millions of healthy animals can lead to food supply chain collapse, resulting in catastrophic consequences.
Its latest news report, the USDA shows large egg prices around the nation have jumped.
Melbourne shoppers are being told to brace for egg supply shortages for up to a year as the bird flu crisis unfolds.
It's thought it's families with children who are struggling the most. As this graph shows, since April, food insecurity has increased more amongst this group compared to households without children.
Scientific evidence shows that culling entire flocks may not be necessary, as H5N1 doesn't kill every chicken it infects. Instead, flocks should be given a chance to recover and obtain natural immunity against the virus. Studies on this observation method are urgently needed to prevent millions of unnecessary animal deaths. As was recently reported in the New York Times, some animal welfare advocates, pointing to recent outbreaks that were allowed to run their course, question whether killing every bird on an affected farm is even the right approach. When H5N1 hit Harvest Home Animal Sanctuary in California in February 2023, killing 3 birds, the farm's operators steeled themselves for a state-mandated culling. Instead, California agriculture officials, citing a recently created exemption for farms that do not produce food, said they would spare the birds as long as strict quarantine measures were put in place for 120 days. Over the next few weeks, the virus claimed 26 of the farm's 160 chickens, ducks, and turkeys, but the others survived, even those that had appeared visibly ill, according to Christine Morrissey, the sanctuary's executive director. She said the experience suggested that mass cullings might be unnecessary. There needs to be more research and effort put into finding other ways of responding to this virus, Ms. Morrissey said, because depopulation is horrifying and it's not solving the problem at hand. Cattle currently exhibit a very low mortality rate from H5N1, yet unscrupulous actors might push for policies that mandate the culling of infected cows.
Nobody knows how to get rid of
how to get cows to stop farting.
Exactly, or burping. And so there is artificial meat. If it was a 50% reduction, then you could ignore, okay, leave the cows alone. But because we're trying to avoid the temperature continuing to go up, you do need to go to zero. We need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
We know what's next. We're going to have zoonotic influenza illness. So, put your tray tables in the upright position and your seats forward and your seatbelts on, because this is unfortunately a new wave of pandemics is going to be upon us.
I'm obviously most worried about bird flu, but in the laboratory, I could make it highly infectious for humans in months because it's been published, the 5 amino acids that I need to change. And so I don't think that research should be done. That's the real threat. That's the real biosecurity threat, that these university labs are doing these bio experiments that are intentionally modifying viruses. And bird flu, I think, is going to be the cause of the great pandemic.
I mean, right there, if we're just taking the time to understand what the plan is, you know, Bill Gates, don't even bother with a trial. I mean, this guy, it just needs to stop. He is invested in the artificial meat market, and you hear about this new wave of pandemics, as the other individual said. In Dr. McCullough's report, they go, the current circulating strain in humans and cattle has become much less lethal compared to previous bird flu outbreaks. This reduced lethality may be due to adaptations acquired through gain of function. All right, the serial passage. And so they were talking about what is being done in labs. Down below they go, they're talking about 22.37 million birds that they say are affected. But then they go on to say, however, these numbers are likely falsely inflated due to the use of mass PCR testing. Also, our government has recklessly mandated the culling of millions of chickens even with only a few PCR detections on a farm. And so it is complete and utter fraud and corruption, and it just makes me sick to see what they're doing and how they're going about this process of culling. Now, Dr. McCullough did provide previously, this was back in April when they were first talking about this major culling of chickens, as a defense, it says, against avian influenza, and it's the iodine nasal spray and gargle. And is there something called Providine? That rings a bell, as well as treatment. And in this article, if I'm not mistaken, again, they had said, where was it? They were talking about what the most commonly reported symptoms are conjunctivitis, pink eye, and mild respiratory symptoms. And even with this, I'm like 911, you know, this respiratory illness, they're going to have vaxes coming out for it and all the rest of it. Complete and utter lies. It's shameful. Now, what does the Bible says about our animals, right? It says, Proverbs 12:10 says, the righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. And we can see, you know, that, you know, what these farmers are doing is absolute cruelty. And this is outside of God's laws and outside the word of God, and there are going to be major consequences for this. But I always say that we need to always make every decision based on biblical principles, and that means we need to put a stop to this. I will not sit back and tolerate this cruelty. And the Bible also says, people, you know, may say, well, are you saying, Tanya, that, you know, that we shouldn't have a supply as well? I've never said anything like that. I don't think even given a hint of it here, as far as what the purpose is of chickens for eggs or meat birds or cows. And the Bible does say in Leviticus 25:7, and for your cattle and for the beasts that are in your land shall all the increase thereof be meat. And so it's not to say that I know that there are individuals, you know, who are vegetarians and other diets that they have. And so I just want to manage this report carefully. My first heart is towards any act of abuse must be taken very, very seriously. And that is why I would respect what is coming in the United States as far as leadership is concerned, because they won't tolerate this either. Okay, so now the action that I'm going to put, because I don't know if this is only going to stop in BC. I don't know if the corrupt government now that's in New Brunswick or in Nova Scotia is going to come out and start talking about this bird influenza and start mandating jabs. They were talking about the PCR testing. So go to COVID-19 and you'll see notices of liability as the first selection of pop down. And if you just go down, you can click on COVID testing. It'll scoot you down the page and give you everything you need to know about the COVID testing, the PCR testing, the fraud that goes on there. You have videos and other things that are on the webpage, as well as the notices of liability against any future vaccines. Mind you, we may need to slightly edit those to incorporate maybe bird influenza vax. I don't know what they're going to come out, an mRNA vaccine's an mRNA vaccine, and we know that it was meant to create mass harm, genocide, and destruction. But I just want to make sure you have those resources available. I encourage you to go to the page and read about it. Now, breaking news this week, Premier John Horgan has passed away. And as I've said, his legacy will be ushering in the tyrannical COVID-19 mandates and deadly mRNA gene therapy injections. You got to remember, in 2021, Action for Canada, we filed the statement of claim, and John Horgan was named as a defendant. He will remain as a defendant name because this, like I said, will be his legacy, and it's no disrespect towards his family. I'm sure they're feeling the weight of this loss, but it is nothing in comparison to the destruction and the loss of jobs and the businesses that were shut down that this man is personally responsible. And we're not going to give him a free pass on that. And people will know and understand. And when I posted this, people as well in the comments, they know what John Horgan has done. And the fact that he stepped aside was because he had had throat cancer. The battle ended up, I understand, in the last 5 months, the report said that he was in hospital and battling the cancer. It sounds like maybe he had respite care. Everybody that has been advancing and pushing, his government took over the hospice center and demanded that they had to provide the option for euthanasia instead of respectful end of care. And, when you look at the contradictions and what it was that he participated in this province, there's so many mixed emotions and things to say about it. But moving forward now on the BC elections, I was in meetings this week. And again, I said earlier, we cannot just give a pass and go, oh, well, the NDP are corrupt, they took this election. What we have to do is, because BC elections was involved in this, and the individual, the BC Deputy Chief Electoral Officer is Anton Bogman, who ended up putting these policies that opened up the doors to fraud just like wide open. He's the one that put in the tabulator machines, the manipulator machines. He's the one that had continued with the phone-in voting and still said mail-in ballots were okay. So as we're in meetings, we're going to press into BC elections and demand that only in-person paper ballot voting on one day of voting. And whether it happens to be a national holiday that the voting will take place on, so everybody has the opportunity to vote, but there will be no mail-in ballots and no tabulators, no phone-in voting, and absolutely no vouching. So give me a thumbs up if you agree with that. And what I'm going to ask is that everybody join Action for Canada, because we need to be actively reaching out to our provincial elections and making these demands in advance of an election. Okay, we can't leave this to chance, because it was the NDP government who appointed Mr. Bogman. And there were reports I found out this week, and we're going to request an audit, that the electoral office, that BC elections staff were making phone calls to people to see if they wanted to vote. We need an audit of who they had contacted. Were they on a disability list? Who initiated staff to be making these phone calls, and why? Was it because the tabulators were showing that the NDP were losing in certain ridings and this was a way to increase NDP votes? I don't know. The whole thing stinks. But the point is, you need to be proactive in your province, and you need to be considering these things, and you need to take on the actions that we are implementing here in British Columbia as well. But we need teams. I can't oversee another team. I need a team in BC who's going to be willing to take this on. I need a person that is really well versed in elections to become our elections team leader at the national office. No, you're not going to get paid big money to do this. None of us are. The majority of all of our time is sacrificially voluntary. And I'm killing myself doing this for my nation, and I'm calling out all the bad stuff. But I'm telling you, you have to realize, as I said, we're at a crossroads. We're in a massive fight, and it's a 911 call to get people to join Action for Canada, because we literally have the best strategies and campaigns and the best resources, the only resources to fight all of these initiatives by the government at all levels of government. Okay, sometimes these Substacks, okay, so this was another thing. I just want to keep emphasizing that there are reports that are being supported by Sam Cooper. He's written a book and I've ordered it, and David Eby is mentioned in the book several times because of his ties to Chinese interference, Chinese funding. And as it says in this report, who was the group? Sorry, Isingu. There was a confidence agreement. Still, despite this fact that he is claimed to have shredded the agreement, has signed. Oh, that was about Jagmeet Singh. My apologies. Sam Cooper and others are again as well bringing into question about the election, just like I am. Said using tabulators, I hadn't heard this, where 49,000 mail-in votes were not tabulated, finding an additional 17,000 ballots prior to counting, taking an additional week. Of course, we knew all of that. Almost 70% of the mail-in ballots ending up siding for the NDP. That's why I say this has got to stop, and we've got to be proactive. So Sam Cooper has said, in my journalistic assessment, assisted by this Mandarin OSINT specialist, there evidently has been significant CCP-affiliated election interference in support of Premier David Eby. He goes on to say this report collects documents from China and Canada. Here is the report here. He goes, December 2021, then Attorney General David Eby, because John Horgan was the Premier, approved a $20,000 grant to the Canada Committee 100 Society, a community organization led by Dingo, a prominent journalist from Shanghai, ostensibly aimed at supporting anti-racism initiatives and engaging recent Chinese immigrants. I don't want to hear any more about this anti-racism stuff. Okay, we had no problem with racism in this country. We only have a problem. It's a culture war that we're at here, and it is an extremism war that we're facing. I have lots of lovely Chinese friends. They're Christians, they love this country, and they are equally as concerned about this. So stop race baiting and allowing people to come into this country who have ulterior motives and allow them to set up these programs. Zero funding. The grant has since come under scrutiny from experts and diaspora citizens due to the group's documented link to Beijing's United Front and political donors involved in Eby's 2022 NDP leadership campaign. A government press release cited Mr. Ding, a personal friend and advisor to Premier David Eby, who stated, "This project will help us gather detailed, relevant data on a wide scale. It will also provide opportunities for the Chinese Canadian community, aka CCP. It will also provide opportunity, including new immigrants, to engage in the legislative process. While this mission appears commendable, findings from the Bureau's review of public records, including a report from the People's Republic that credits CCS 100 with mobilizing voters in the 2019 federal election." And we had said back then that that election was corrupted. And so this is very concerning that there is not a RCMP investigation going on. I'm taking some steps as well in this to find out why is the RCMP not investigating David Eby, and as well as this election. I'm being told, you know what, the election will stand. The BC Conservatives are having an AGM in March, and it sounds like that needs to, there needs to be involvement in making sure that there are really strong BC conservative riding associations where they're not being infiltrated by the Chinese or nefarious other bad actors. Okay, another good news report. Germany's coalition collapses. East Germany has had an amazing election as the so-called right wing won, but the other side here ended up with the standard government, but only by a minority. He has to align with other parties and have an alliance in order to get anything done. But it's falling apart over budget disputes. And so there's a chance that Chancellor Olaf says here, Schultz sacked his finance minister. But look at this. It's of interest. Here again, German Chancellor Olaf attends a joint press conference with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Rutte is the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and he lost because Geert Wilders won, but he went straight to NATO. Well, we found out from the other clip that I played, or have I done that yet? Let me think where I'm at right now. Oh yes, I was talking about in the Netherlands, how the health officer had come out and said this was a military, I want to say military coup involving NATO and their high top-ranking security officials. So here the German chancellor as well is at meetings at NATO. This whole thing stinks as to how this, but I'm really, really happy that it's all coming apart. And I'm just going to play this a short clip because this is the leader of the Germany's AfD. And this is why I believe if another election is called, she will win. So let's just play this short clip.
Hi, Tanya. Sorry, I don't actually have that one.
Oh, you don't? Will I be able to play it if because I share screen?
You won't be able to hear it if you want to give me the...
Okay. It's well, you know what? It's okay. I can just say, I can read her words, and because, okay, it says the borders need to be closed. Illegal migrants need to be rejected without any exceptions. Anyone who stays here without authorization must be deported. Criminals, terrorists, and social fraudsters who have been fraudulently naturalized must surrender their German passports. Dear friends, this and only this is the sole thing that we comprehend and interpret as remigration without any variations. And so I'm super hoping and praying that she will definitely, that the AfD will get a majority if the other government truly does fall apart, because Europe and the UK are taking back their countries. Every time a country is taken back in Europe and the UK, that helps Canada, because we'll be there soon. Okay, now I just want to address again the problem with bringing in mass immigrants, this mass migration and refugees from third world countries, from violent countries who all they know is extremism. I was horrified to hear the stories of how disrespected our Remembrance Day celebration was in honor of our fallen soldiers, both past and present. It was just horrendous. That is a report that I put out the other day. But if we're looking at this, the Muslims are at it again, pulling these stunts. The Palestinians, it needs to be shut down, and we need to deport all Palestinians. They are violent. The Arab nations don't even want them. They need to go back to wherever they came from. And we need to hold Mark Miller and Justin Trudeau responsible for this invasion, responsible for putting Canadians at risk, be responsible for this genocide of population replacement by using extremists to enter our nation and to disrespect us in the manner of what they continually do within our societies, within our cities, within our school systems, and within our government. And Arif Virani is our highest political entryism. He is the federal attorney general. He is the one that is facilitating this, and he as well needs to be removed from government, as well as every other extremist that have managed to enter our government at all levels. And I'm going to continue to say that until it happens. So terrorist lovers appropriate the Royal Canadian Legion poppy to remember Yahweh Sinwar. He was again killed by the Israelis, and he was a violent, he was the head of it, was it Hezbollah, as though there was some equivalence between Canadians who fought in defense of freedom and the despicable murder of women, children, and innocents. This is a disgrace. And whoever was responsible for this, I don't even want a trial. Just deport them, get rid of these people. I am so tired of hearing all of this, as I'm sure you are. Palestinian protest song in Arabic as its Remembrance Day music. So this principal at the school decided to allow an Arabic song sung in Arabic, and it was so-called about peace for Gaza, as the only song to play at our Remembrance Day here in Canada. This is an abomination as far as I'm concerned. Parents, thank goodness, you know, are opposing this, but it is not good enough just to oppose this in the Ottawa school district. All right, we want to see results. We want to have answers. This, as far as I'm concerned, this principal has lost his way. Principal Aaron Hobbs should be removed. He should be fired. They need to be made an example of that. This is just not going to fly. It's Canada first and Canadians first. I'm not afraid of offending anybody at this point. All right, again, this is a look at the Islamic schools in Ontario. Let this absorb. Can you imagine these offenses in our public schools? Can you imagine what's going on in the Islamic schools? In BC, we'll be exposing a school who has books that have grenades stuck to young people's belts and grenades in their hands, and they are to glorify terrorists. And this is a matter of what's going on in schools. This is why I'm saying every Islamic school and center and mosque need to be shut down in Canada. Anything that is under surveillance should not be open. These are terrorist cells, and they are teaching anti-Canadian, sorry. Okay, so Terenzio, are you seeing my screen right now?
I was just going to say, I didn't want to interrupt. We're ready to share your screen again in Zoom.
Okay, always feel like as soon as it happens, feel ready, because I was showing headlines here. Sorry, there's a pop-up in front. Okay, so this was the page that we created in memory of our soldiers, and this incredible poem, I would highly recommend that you read it. I'd never seen it before. I found it when I was creating this page, and I just think it's so important for many people to understand that, as we said earlier, that freedom is never free, and it's a fragile thing, as Ronald Reagan said, and that it's not inherited. We need to pass this on to our children, and we're in a fight to do that. And so this was the poppies that were repurposed, shall we say, to glorify a terrorist who was killed by Israel, the head of Hezbollah. This was the headline report that about the Palestinian protest the Palestinian song that was used in the school. This was done on purpose. It should have never been permitted, and I believe the principal needs to be hired. This is the look at the Islamic schools that are in Ontario alone. And if this is what they're willing to do in our public schools, you can imagine at what is being taught in the Islamic schools. They need to be shut down. They must be shut down. They do not align with our values. And so I'm just going to play this clip. The other part of the deterioration of our Remembrance Day is pulling in all of the land rights and all of this fake Indigenous land rights and the colonialization and the BLM. This is like BLM 101, what they've done here in the city of Toronto in the opening of our Remembrance Day celebration. Again, an abomination. Let's listen to what this woman has to say.
I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of these lands. It is important that we reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and in learning about the rich history of this land to better understand our role as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers in this place we each call home. The City of Toronto acknowledges the land we are meeting on as the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We also acknowledge the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. The City of Toronto acknowledges all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to our ancestors of African origin and descent. In keeping with this tribute, during this Remembrance Week, the city commemorates.
Okay, so I can't even stand to listen to this woman who came involuntarily through this transatlantic slave trade. It's like, excuse me, that didn't involve Canada, and it was the whites, if you'll remember, who set the who abolished slavery, and it is just so filled with lies, and it is propagandizing this hate. It is fueling it. It is setting it on a flame, and is part of the global agenda. All right. Who do you think fought for this country and all of the freedoms that we have? The majority were all white Canadian soldiers. So how dare they allow this woman to stand up there and down talk and speak despicably of our soldiers and the white Canadians? That's what this is. This is race baiting. This is white against black. This is white against, the Indigenous. This is white against the minority Muslims or Sikhs or Hindus, and it has to stop. This is a Canadian white majority country. Get over yourselves. Otherwise, let's start talking about Islam, Islamic nations, 56 Islamic nations that are majority brown people. Let's talk about India, majority brown people. Let's talk about Africa and the majority of blacks. Stop it. European nations are majority white. And when we came into Canada, when the Europeans came to Canada, they did justice by this country. We are seeing, based on the report that I launched last year, you can find this under current issues, and respectfully towards the natives, we are fighting for them because the globalists are using them as pawns to push this agenda to steal the land away from everybody. It is a global agenda, and the chiefs and their families are getting billions of dollars, and the natives are not thriving. We need to tear up the treaties. We need to tear up the Indian Act, and we all need to be treated equal. We need to stop funding minority groups who are coming in and invading this country. When my mom and dad came to Canada, they never received a dime from the government. And I hear that from so many different ethnic groups who came 30, 40, 50 years ago. They said, when we came to Canada, I'm talking about people from India, I'm talking about people from Africa and other places. They said, we never got a dime from the government. And we were so happy to be here that we integrated and assimilated, and they embraced Canadian culture. And if we took all funding away from the natives right now, all the billions of dollars, where would they have been if we just came in and it was an invasion and a takeover over 150 years ago? Has anybody ever stopped to think about that? And now what they are proving is all of this talk about colonialism and all the talk about coming in and killing their children and the empty graves are all a stack of lies. Stacks and stacks of lies. And it is all part of the plan to destroy our democracy and take over Canada and other Western and European nations by claiming colonialism. So we're at war, and we're asking everybody of color to understand that we have a common enemy. It is the World Economic Forum. It is the United Nations. It is Justin Trudeau. Okay, so let's come together, and instead of allowing them to divide us, let's unify and stand arm in arm against them. Okay, Poilievre, even Pierre Poilievre has in the Parliament has stood up and he slammed the remembrance ceremonies that were hijacked by these woke political stunts that took place nationwide. I'm telling you, if these immigrants don't like it, we really need to get their names and ship them back to where they came from, because they are to integrate and assimilate into Canadian culture. We don't change for them, and I'm not making any apologies about that. Now, the reason why is because Canadians have been so kind. This is the result. And I'm going to play you 10 seconds of this clip and tell me how you feel about it. Okay, these are Surrey police officers in uniform at a Khalistani Sikh event, pretending theatrically to do a sword fight. We have seen the Khalistani Sikhs out on force nationwide, in Calgary, in Brampton, and throughout, and they went out and they attacked an Indian temple and people the other day. Was that in Brampton as well? So how do you think we feel living in Surrey, seeing this happen? So I reached out to the RCMP at the Surrey headquarters, and the officer was absolutely amazing. He wanted to see the video. He sent it. He thanked me very much, because we have always had the Surrey RCMP, but there is a transition to municipal police to the Surrey Police Force under, it was Mayor McCallum that brought it in, even though many people were opposed to it. And he came back and he said that through the transition from the RCMP to Surrey Police Services, that while the RCMP is the current police of jurisdiction, the police officer who work with the Surrey Police Services are governed by the guidelines set out in the British Columbia Police Act. Concerns or complaints about the actions or conduct of a Surrey Police Service police officer must be addressed to either the Office of Police Complaints Commissioner or Surrey Police Service Professional Standards Section. So I've looked this up, Office of Police Complaints. This is on my Twitter page. And I am asking every one of you to take the time and file a complaint about these officers, provide this video, and demand that these individuals be fired. And the reason I put up here through my own thoughts is that this is unacceptable, as police must be politically neutral. How can citizens feel safe or confident in either of these individuals upholding the Canadian Constitution or the rule of law before their loyalties to Khalistanism? This behavior poses a threat to our Canadian sovereignty, safety, and security. This is blatant disregard to go up there as Khalistani Sikhs and reenact a sword fight. It strikes fear into the hearts of Canadian citizens who understand the violent nature that is building within the Sikh Khalistani Sikh community Canada-wide. And as far as I'm concerned, I still believe, and I will follow up with this wonderful officer. He really was very good to deal with, but I still believe that because of this offense is against the safety and security of Canadians, that the RCMP headquarters should be involved as well. So please provide me your comments and give me a thumbs up as well in this, and please join me on my Twitter page. I'm not even at 2,400 followers yet. It is shocking to me how censored that I remain when I am reporting on same information that could get 1.2 million views. Okay, Canada ends automatic 10-year multiple entry visas, introduces stricter regulations. I want to give you a huge thumbs up. I want to give Action for Canada a huge thumbs up. This is only because of pushback that Justin Trudeau and the Minister of Immigration are making these decisions. So basically, visitors to Canada were always given a 10-year visa, but now they are offering permitting entry and exit from the country during that time. That 10-year window will no longer be the default option for visa seekers. It will be going on a one-to-one basis. I don't think anybody from any country that is coming in from violent nations should have access. I have said numerous times we should be calling for a full moratorium. The reason I'm emphasizing, I'm asking you to take action and join Action for Canada is because we are on the front line of this fight in calling out the Muslims and the Khalistani Sikhs and the Hindus for their extremism. We believe it needs to 100% be shut down. Justin Trudeau has created a hotbed of extremism in Canada, and I'm giving you a warning. I have said multiple times that Europe and the UK were ahead of us because they opened their door sooner to these radical extremists flooding them in. And Canada, under Justin Trudeau, went along with the Global Compact and this migration to do this mass, he signed on to this mass invasion, but we were a little behind Europe and the UK, so they are suffering. And I'm going to be very interested to see what Geert Wilders does in the Netherlands in response to this violent Islamic attack against the Jewish community when an Israeli team came for an event. And in the streets, there is, I don't actually have it on that page. I believe this person does. This is the kind of things that are taking place in the Netherlands. This is Canada. These Palestinians out in the streets, the Muslims that Justin Trudeau is bringing in, is for this reason, to create hate and diversity, to create diversity of ideas, but these are ideas in the Islamic world that cannot be changed. They are not here to integrate and assimilate, and the Palestinians that are here have already proven that. These are the people that attacked individuals on the streets, and they're saying they're going out and naming them. These are violent extremists. This is one of the young people, I believe this was in the Netherlands. Listen to what this individual has to say. We're going to play this short clip. Trenzio, do you have this clip?
I don't, Tanya.
Yep, that's okay. I'm going to... I just want to grab it. I think it's just so shocking. Trenzio, if I put that in the chat, I'm almost finished the update. Everybody, thanks for hanging on. This was a late night tonight, but this will be going out as a weekly news update singularly on its own. Okay, so if you can play this, this is the threat. They are recruiting our youth at the universities. Go ahead.
Let me tell you guys more about the full force mindset. This is an army full of brothers with the same mindset, the same goals, to be the best they can possibly be, physically, mentally, and spiritually, to get stronger with whatever they want. Calisthenics, wrestling, to get stronger in their deen as well. Brotherhood, we compete with each other to bring the best out of each other. Alhamdulillah, I'm saying this with chest, the army is growing, all by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We try to inspire the youth, even the elderly people, to reach their full potential. May Allah purify our intentions. Join the full force army, inshallah. We're gonna take over the world soon, inshallah. Salute, my soldiers.
Okay, so this isn't just in Europe and the UK. They are here recruiting. We saw what happened at the universities and the encampments that were set up by the Palestinians. I have repeatedly told you that the Muslim Student Association, which was listed as a co-conspirator in one of the largest cases down in the United States, who are tied to the Muslim Brotherhood, are on our campuses recruiting our kids. It is a 911 call. I have said clearly that Islam is not a religion. It is a violent political system that wants world domination. They plan to accomplish this through the infiltration and recruiting young people. We must permanently ban Islam in Canada, and I'm going to go so far that Islam must be designated as a terrorist organization. There is no peace anywhere as far as Islam is concerned. These girls in, as I mentioned, in Switzerland, some people say they're done as far as Islam is concerned, but they are fighting back. They are rising up against it. And these young women with a 51% vote ended up getting the burqas banned in Switzerland. This is what we can accomplish, but we have a way greater chance now of doing it, and the time is now. We must make these this an election issue, and we must win this battle. So under current issues, as always, I say, drop down to our Political Islam page, research and review the information we have. Share, share, share it. This is one of the #1 biggest battles in Canada. Read this report, please. The Rise of Political Islam in Canada, and share this report. This is a 911, and it is equal with the Khalistani extremists who are infiltrating with AK-47s and the guns. You may have heard about the 100 shots that took place the other day again in Toronto, which I think is one of the worst cesspools in all of Canada. I think the RCMP could just focus on Toronto, clean up a lot of it, in Brampton, Ontario, and all of those areas in every major city across this nation. It is a mess. And I care about the future for our children. I want to save Canada. I want our Christian principles and biblical values to be embraced once again, so that people will understand anything that ends in an ism is an enemy of Canada. That's secularism. That is, you got Sikhism, you got Hinduism, you got Buddhism, and you have Islamism. These are not friends of a free world, and it's not to offend anybody, because we have been lulled into believing that these false religions have some redeeming form, and that the people that we love the people, but they've been deceived. And if they don't agree with me as a white Christian living in a nation that was founded by white Europeans based on biblical values, well, guess what? Our biblical values don't rely on the color of anyone's skin. That's why in China, they have the greatest underground church in China. Chinese people are coming to Christ. And that throughout Iran, there is a Christian movement rising up where Muslims are converting to Christianity. It's happening in countries around the world. When they are oppressed is when they look to God and they find Jesus Christ and invite him in as Lord and Savior of their life. And that's what's happening in Canada as well. This is not a battle against the color of anybody's skin. This is a cultural battle, and this is a spiritual battle. And we're going to call out the false gods in Canada. And God said in 2 of the top commandments are, you shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not worship their idols. Okay, so that means we have a right to clean them up. And again, respectfully, if anybody who has come in this country and is worshiping false gods and are offended by what I have to say, you have countries you can go back to that you can worship your false gods in those countries. And then look, why did you come to Canada? Because you wanted freedom and democracy, because you can't get that. You can't get freedom and democracy in your country, because only countries that are founded on Christian principles, biblical principles, offer that. That's a reality. You can research it. You can test me on it, but it is absolutely 100%. So please, out of respect, I am loving you enough to speak the truth that you immigrated here because of our Christian principles, and I am going to fight to preserve those. And I'm hoping that you will see the value in that and you will join me rather than fight me on it. Please go to our join page, join Action for Canada, sign up as a member, and help us win this battle. All right, next week, talking about finances. I said that a little earlier in the weekly news update. We have Tanner Nindi coming on. He's just an amazing young man. And we are going to talk about finances from a biblical perspective. We're going to talk about Canada pension. I believe why we shouldn't be paying into that. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting presentation. So I hope that you'll mark that on your calendar to join us then. The scripture for tonight is from John 15:13. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. I mean, this is just absolutely so amazing. This is our good friend Stephen, who is in prison right now, aka Tommy Robinson. He has so much love for his country and for his fellow citizens that he is willing to lay down his life for his country and his family. in order to fight for freedom. I am willing to do that in Canada because I love God and country, and through that I love you enough to speak these hard truths. And I am going to be in this fight to preserve Canada, as is everybody on the Action for Canada team. So please join us. Anybody, no matter what your belief system is, can join Action for Canada and become a member. But our leaders are indeed Bible-believing Christians, because we know it's a spiritual battle, and we know that there is only one true God, and we need to believe in his son, Jesus Christ, in order to win this battle. And so as long as you're not offended by that, I'm telling you, this is really the organization that will offer the best results. So again, I just thank you for joining me tonight. Please share this information, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to Rumble, and then subscribe to Action for Canada's Rumble page as well. Thank you. God bless you. And truly, truly, from the bottom of my heart, God bless Canada.
Do you want to look great and protect your rights? Join Action for Canada with our stylish protective gear. Our slim fit women's t-shirts are like a second skin, giving you the power to tackle any challenge. Made from a super soft blend of 90% cotton and 10% polyester, it's perfect for your everyday heroes that want to tell the world that they have had enough. Our men's t-shirts are like your everyday armor. Same quality, same comfort, and designed to keep your heroic look intact. And if you need extra protection, our mid-weight hoodies are here to save the day. With a pre-shrunk blend of 60% cotton and 40% polyester, these hoodies are your trusty sidekick against the cold. Plus, the pouch pocket is perfect for storing snacks because every hero needs their fuel. Deflect negativity with our 11-ounce ceramic mugs. They're dishwasher and microwave safe and perfect for holding your favorite beverage or your morning dose of justice. Our 100% cotton canvas shopping totes with double carry handles and prints on both sides. These totes can carry your groceries and your mission to save the planet. Stay warm and stylish with our form-fitting toques. Perfect for winter adventures. Made from acrylic and polyester, they fit most sizes with an adjustable cuff, keeping your brain warm for all those brilliant ideas. And don't forget our 6-panel structured caps, designed to protect your head from too many UV rays or bad hair days. Every purchase helps support our movement to protect Canadian rights. Visit Action for Canada now and gear up for the fight, so together we can protect what matters most and help make a difference.
chapters across the nation. We are going to be in every town and every city, and we are going to build communities within these communities of like-minded people who are actually going to care for one another again and love on each other and give each other the help when they're down. We are going to use the teams and the people that build within chapters to support our businesses. The government's actions are completely 100% unlawful. Judgment will again be found on justice, and those with virtuous hearts will pursue it. You have a virtuous heart if you are here today pursuing freedom and righteousness. And then verse 23 comes along with a promise. God says he will turn the sins of evil people back on them. He will destroy them for their sins. I take great comfort in that, because I serve a mighty living God who has allowed us to go through this season of discomfort because we as a nation have turned our backs on him and we need to get right. So I am just going to thank you so much. I'm going to say God bless you and God bless Canada.
From coast to coast, we stand so tall. With love of God, we give our all. And every battle, big or small, together we win it all. We fight for freedom and for rights, which they turn darkness into light. In every heart we feel his might, and through his love we win the fight. Actions for Canada, we unite, joining hands with foes or fight. Actions for the Canada, we stand tall. With love and faith we can win it all. We on up high, flag we lifted high, and with God we'll soar into the sky. Our people fed up with these lies, but together they can't even try. Come with us and feel the power, grace and love in every hour. Look around, it's now or never. Live the life you want to live. Actions for Canada, we unite, joining hands with foes or fight. Actions for the Canada, we stand tall. With love and faith we can win it all. We on up high, we on up We hold our flag, we lift it high, and with God we'll soar it to the sky. Our people fed up with these lies, but together